wizard. Beware his powers. Unspeakable powers. He's the wizard. The mystical wizard.
Greetings, travelers, Wiz Kids, and Wordplayers. And I am back once again. It is another Wednesday, so it is another episode of WoW Wednesday. And I'm joined by, of course, Jesker James.
Yo, the one, the original, the man, the myth, the legend, JJ himself.
The best JJ on the internet.
That's right. That's right.
I saw a tweet earlier that I was going to bring up that was funny, just that it was like a thread on gaming confessions, and someone had said that they learned how to read through Kingdom Hearts because they played it when they were like really, really young, and they could understand everything else. But Kingdom Hearts 1, watching the cutscenes and the subtitles, reading all that is how they learned how to read. And I was going to be like, this was Jesker.
Well, I mean, I would have been like, what, 10 years old at the time? Almost 10 years old. So if it's taken me that long to read, I really had no chance in life.
That probably would have been me, more or less, just because when I played it, I was pretty young, and it's one of those where I'm sure it helped me read, but I was pretty young when I played it. I only ever got through the Destiny Island part. I never really played the game proper. I was just like all just walking around Destiny Islands, you know.
I remember when I first played the game, I had like a level of existential horror because the way the tutorial starts off, like you're expecting this Disney game, and then it's like dark and asking you all these personal questions. What are you afraid of? What do you want out of life? And then your shadow turns into a giant monster. I'm like, what's happening here? Like,
yeah, I think for me, you know, I was like probably like 4 or 5 or something, and so I didn't even I don't think I even read it. I was just clicking around, and it was just Destiny Islands time, and you know, burn dun 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 dun.
Yep.
But I guess my biggest gaming confession would be that when I first played Skyrim, I refused to engage in like any combat. I just kept like dawdling around and like growing, like harvest or chopping wood and selling it. That was like all I wanted to do.
My biggest gaming confession.
What's up, Cindy?
I don't know. Would last week's confession that the only Souls game that I played is Liza P, like, would that count?
Yeah, maybe. I guess it'd be like if you played Dark Souls, but you only like hung out in the tutorial, or that like mine was like all those Souls games I played, I knew everything about them going into them, and just watched other people play them for so many years, or in general, how I only ever played on easy mode for the longest time. But
I guess if I was to pick one like from the early days of Jesker James's story, probably that I didn't play a Nintendo home console until, so remember, I was born like in the early 90s. So we had like Super Nintendo, N64, which are all classic consoles, but I didn't play a home Nintendo console until the early 2000s. I had a Game Boy and a Game Boy Advance, but I didn't play a home Nintendo console until I got a hand-me-down with the Super Nintendo.
I guess mine's similar. I didn't play a Nintendo console until I got a Nintendo Wii. And I played, well, I had the Game Boy and Game Boy Advance and such, but in general, I'm not like a Nintendo guy because of that, really. Like, I never had the classic ones.
I started out with Sega Genesis. So when I was a kid, I had a hand-me-down Sega Genesis and Sega Saturn, and those were my first consoles. And then, of course, I had a Game Boy Color, and then I got a PlayStation 1. So Nintendo was there with the Game Boy, but I would say I was more of a Sega and PlayStation kid growing up.
Yeah, I was PlayStation until the 360.
You traitor.
Well, that is because, like, granted, it was what was there, right? Like, I was a child, right? So I didn't have control over what was in the house. So it was the PlayStation 1 for a time, and then it was the PlayStation 2 for a long time until it was the 360. Because, like, the 360 was the 360. Yeah, everybody got that. And we went through 360s at our house, strangely enough, just because we misremembered what the Red Ring of Death, or didn't know what the Red Ring of Death did at the time. Um, and that, like, at the time, Red Ring of Death was like, you thought was like a full bricking, but then that was just like the rumor. But then I found out years later that it was like, no, most Red Rings of Death were just overheating, and then you just waited for them to cool off. They were fine. So
Right.
basically, like, we got like one, and it's like, oh no, it's ruined forever. And then they're like, and then years later get another one. But yeah, it's just like, at the time it's like, no, it's just overheated. Like, only like the
Right.
first model 360s were bricked.
I mean, not right now because I got to get this alternator for my car, but at some point I'm kind of thinking about getting a Xbox Series S just to support Microsoft, because their practices honestly seem more consumer friendly than PlayStation this generation. And I feel on principle I might need to show some love, show some support. Because I mean, with the S, you can get a current gen console for $299 compared to like PlayStation 5 Pro, which is $700. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. If you go, I almost got a digital. If Starfield would have been good, I would have got a digital only Xbox, and would have got it just for Starfield and like better mods on Fallout 4. Because like I've been talking about, I'm playing through Fallout 4 on PlayStation, and the mods on PlayStation are not great because Sony is like, we don't want people adding stuff to our hardware, right? So because we've been hacked before, so it's like, we don't want people making mods for Fallout 4 and Skyrim and all that. Like, you can, but you have to only work within like you can't add outside stuff. You can only work within like what's in the game already. So it's a lot of like cheat and God mode and like, console command stuff. So it's like skipping prologue, or like, a chest outside of the vault that has a bunch of high level equipment or stuff like that. So there's nothing like what you would see on PC and Xbox, where it's like voice acting from people and brand new stuff. And that's why all the Creation Club stuff is lame. Like, there's no voice acting and all that because they have to be universal, and Sony didn't want people to be able to add crazy stuff. So anyway, yeah, so I almost got a cheaper Xbox. I still have my 360. That thing's still chugging along. And so luckily 360 games are, still available to me, except for the store being closed.
Yeah. Well, if you get the Xbox Series X with the disc drive, it's backwards compatible with isn't it backwards compatible with everything Xbox?
I believe so. I know at least there's the digital library, I think, for sure.
Even going back to the OG Xbox.
I think so.
Sony, what are you doing, man?
I have some OG Xbox games. Well, and Sony, I guess, like, their original PlayStation games work if you pay the extra thing. Like, you can play them, the digital ones, but the other ones, the PS3 games, you're streaming, and that's just awful. Game streaming should not be a thing.
That's ridiculous.
But
Cynic, why aren't you in here?
He's over at BTM's.
And your point is?
he promised he would. I know this is the best show on Wednesday nights, but and Snowman's off being a sex haver. So,
wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't blame him.
Yeah, I can and do.
Wow. Somebody's just salty, man. You just
I
salty.
mean, no, Anyway, so my week besides playing more Fallout 4, still working away on those trophies for the DLCs. Um, I've been posting on Twitter that I've been digital drawing now. I've
Oh.
had for a good couple of years now a drawing tablet that I got at my local resale shop in my hometown for like $3. And
Ooh.
I was like, for that price, I'll mess around with it. And I used it for like 1 second and made a very shitty like smiley face. And I'm like, this is awful. I'll never use this thing again. And then I don't know what possessed me to try it out again. But I was just like, I'm gonna mess around and I'm gonna try to, draw this. Let's draw this picture, right? I wanted to do maybe art for the channel and stuff like that. But then it, just kind of like, I was like, yeah, this isn't bad. Let me mess around and let me try one of my the comic cover for my upcoming pirate comic, because I had it saved because I was sending it to people. So I was like, oh, let me just download this and send it. So after about a couple of days of kind of working through it, this is the result of this is like the rough kind of idea. Like, I'm going to go over this, and find detail, but yeah. And as Cynic had joked that, like, I basically started with like this girl here, right? This is a trace of AI. It's not a reflective of I'm terrible at profile on like women's faces, so I had to use AI to get it, but everything else is all me. And the flintlock pistols are traces of pictures of flintlock pistols. But yeah, so it's like I started with this like high detailed, like I'm working really hard, and then like this is the end that I just did today. So it's like this is like a really rough, like thrown together kind of thing. But because I'm like, I'm gonna go back over it, right? Like I'm gonna go back over it. I don't need to try to rush it. And even then I kind of be like, I might change up some of this. Like, so this is a giant squid. The team is getting attacked by a giant squid, and that I might make the tentacles more pronounced, and there's kind of like they're on all of them instead of just like the cabin boy here, and so yeah. So I was messing around with that. It's been really fun. It's been really fun to work with that drawing tablet. I was surprised on how much I enjoy it, surprised on how good it kind of makes me. Cause yeah, it was just like, I've been doing pencil and paper for this whole time that I've been doing this. So for about 4 years, and I've improved, but there's always like, you're held back by the size of the pencil, right? Like, cause I'm using just a basic yellow pencil because I bought up so many because they were like really cheap, and like a red pencil so that I can do the parts and like erase them with Photoshop, and then just going over with like pen and ink and all that. And it's just crazy. It's just like yeah, like I like doing it this way. Like, I like being able to zoom in on something and really take my time with it and kind of finally mess with it and have the layers and not have to worry about like ruining one part of the drawing by doing another. And being able to just like, I had to redo the captain with the sword like a few times because it was like, well, still not kind of working right, so I'm going to completely redo it. And yeah, and then each time being able to do one part of the drawing but from scratch, I guess, and better than just having to redraw the whole thing or trace over it with something else. And so yeah, so it might be that digital drawing is where I go, which I didn't want to do, just because I like the idea of like being an old school style artist, and so I draw in the old school style and I write in the old school style and everything's that. And then even like I wanted to do it all the way to like Bristol board, like ink well and brush and pencil and like all that stuff like they used to do. And then but now it's just the digital's like clicking for me better.
Yeah, and I mean, look, man, you can't be a Luddite, It's 2024. Things are gonna. There's certain technologies that are gonna come into play, and you got to learn to embrace it. You got to learn to roll with it. I mean, it's kind of like what's that old saying? Like the last person, the last company to make the horse and carriage made the best damn horse and carriage
Yeah.
in the history of mankind, but that still didn't stop them from going out of business because we had the combustible engine.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's the story of humanity. It's progress. It's technology has always been with us. It's always been improving with us, and you just gotta roll. Go with the flow.
Yeah, and I wish I could draw on paper better than I do, right? Like it's it's just I wish I could, but I just can't. And another thing that I've noticed is that when drawing with the digital, Zombie Boy says I recommend Paint Tool SAI for a drawing program, very user friendly. I'm using Photoshop right now because I have it and I'm paying for it anyway. But if you want to, Zombie Boy, if you want to send me anything in DMs about digital stuff, like even if you use Photoshop or not, because I'm really trying to figure out brushes. I'm trying to figure out like all that stuff. So anything that you can send my way. But yeah, like I one thing I noticed is that I have like a drawing desk thing that elevates, right? And I noticed that because I don't sit properly over it, I kind of lean back and draw, that the proportions are completely messed up. Like heads are like way too big because those are more towards the top of the paper where like it's out of perspective getting farther away from me visually. So it doesn't look right and then it looked good when I'm looking at it far away, but then when I pick up the paper and hold it completely vertical, right? I'm like, oh, this looks awful. Or like I scan it and I'm like, oh, this is like I have an example. Let's see if I can find it in here. This was something I did on Batman Day. Swap it around. Yeah, so this was I hadn't drawn for a while. So I was like, I'm gonna do a Batman drawing. And I styled this more after Bruce Timm, kind of with like the hands and all and the shoulders and all that.
Right.
But the head was like way too big. And it was something that, like I said, I noticed, and like the waist is really thin, even like by Bruce Timm standards. But I just noticed that when I kind of scan it and look at it, I'm just like, like that's not right, and that if I were to be drawing this digital, I can just isolate the head and shrink it. I've had to do that a few times, or if it just doesn't look right, it's like I just take the head, shrink it, you're done. Yeah, and so that it's basically like the digital drawing is really fun. I did the rough of that cover. I still might change it around a little bit, but I'm close to going to like the black and then probably like finding a permanent look for it. But I don't know if I want to do that before I finish the second draft of the script. Because the interiors are going to change, right? That's just going to happen. But the cover, I like the idea for that cover, and that will always kind of stay that way. So, but
yeah,
I
would finish the script before doing any like, finalized drawing for sure.
Well, yeah, for the interiors for sure. The script, luckily, I sent it around to Cynic and Snowman, and Cynic read it, Snowman didn't. Because basically, I have so many stories right now, and people want.
The reason Snowman didn't read it is because, like Preston says, he's having a date with his left hand right now.
No.
Hey, Preston said it, not me.
I know he is a sex haver though. But anyway, no. So the Cynic read the pirate script because he's been excited for that one, and that basically, and what I heard from the other script, I have the superhero one that I've been working on for like since I started drawing, is that I'm a rusher basically. Like I rush the story along too much, especially the pirate one, kind of just yada 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 done. And so I've learned that I have to, when I go back over it, I have to kind of stretch it a bit which I wanted it to be like 20 pages, which it might end up being, or like 22, so it might end up maybe being 25 to 30, depending. Which I've learned I was offered 8 pages of a story to write and possibly draw, and I'm glad that I didn't take it, just because I would not have been good for that job. I could not have done an 8-page story. So I'm like really I really need like a longer thing. I've only been writing for like a year, so I'm not that like properly writing. Like I've been having ideas forever.
Yeah.
Thanks,
No,
Envoy.
you're fine, man. It took Tolkien 17 years to write The Lord of the Rings. As long as you get your story done in 16 years, you're good.
Some boy asked what kind of tablet am I using. I have a, let me dig it out here underneath my desk. Yeah, as long as I'm not like or George R.R. Martin either.
Oh yeah, don't be a George R. Oh my God, George, why? Why do you do this to us?
It's whatever this is. It's a Wacom tablet. I can't see the drawing. It's just like a blank mouse pad thing, and I go over it with the pencil, with the tablet, with the stylus or whatever. So
Yo, man, are we ever gonna get the Winds of Winter?
I don't. You're asking the wrong person. Oh, he has a Wacom too. Cool. Yeah, it was like for $3 at a resale shop, and it works perfectly fine. It's got I took to it a lot faster than I thought I would, getting used to it and everything. Yeah, and then the stylus pen is, I'm assuming, the same thing. I can't, the label scratched off. But, yeah, it had like a fake inkwell, like a little cup, little rubber cup that you put the pen in to like stand it up. I lost that, I think, but it's like, why would I ever need this in my life? Like, just to pretend that you could set it sticking up, like you're like cool. But then I'm getting a I'm getting a cord extender, so plug it into my computer, and then because when I'm doing streams now, I'm sitting at my desk, and but otherwise I plug in my computer to my TV, which is right next to it, and then I sit in like my recliner, and then just lays around. And so what I'm going to end up doing is, because I've been really liking drawing, is I'm going to plug in my drawing tablet and have it extended over to my recliner, so I can hopefully just sit in my recliner all day and then draw. And so, like I told Cynic, I said, like, you gotta, you know, the lazy man, you know, what did I say? It was really good. It was like the lazy man, you know, will avoid work, and like the willful man will, you know, work hard, but the wise man uses his laziness to you know, to work hard or whatever. Lets his laziness work for him.
That's right, man. It's
So,
better. It's better to be wise than to be a hard worker or to be lazy.
yeah, like it's just like, yeah, like I know that because that was the one thing that stopped me from drawing so much over by my desk, is because this drawing thing's over here, and this computer chair is fine, but you know, it's a little old now. It's not as comfortable. That one's a lot better. I've tried to draw with paper on that. Doesn't work. But now, you know, hook up the computer to my TV, sit over there, drawing tablet. I'm all good. So that's coming in the mail. I got a new microphone arm, so that I don't have, because what I had before was just the microphone like base stand that sits on the desk, right? And I used that when I would stream on here. It's set on my desk. When I would stream on other channels, it would I would be in my lazy boy for that, so then I would just hold it in my hands. And so there's a lot of times where it sounds like I'm too close to the mic because I was holding it too close. So I'm fiddling with it. I'm moving the pop filter around, stuff like that. And now it's just attached to my desk, and so it's hanging off to the side. So if I sound different, that's probably why. But same microphone, same everything else. It's just in a different spot. And what else did I get? I got I got the capture card. So I fiddled with it and I messed around with it, and so I have the ability now to stream myself playing video games through the StreamYard. What I've talked about before, but what I'll do with that is I will stream the game from my PlayStation to the StreamYard as my camera, using OBS's virtual camera. It'll be my camera on here. So I'll basically be like full screen, probably like something like this where you can kind of see me and everyone can kind of see who's here, or something where it's just me on my own, right? And you'll just be in the background and maybe no one will be able to know or something. Yeah, and so that's what I'll I'll do for that, and then I'll probably start that in November next month. I'll figure out a game that I can play, which might be Power Wash Simulator, just because the drawback so far with the virtual camera is that I can't hear the game and hear the panel, right? And something I might try to do is upgrade the StreamYard, because then when you upgrade it, you can have a second microphone, like a second U basically on panel. So then that might mean that I would be able to hear the game, but I have to kind of mess around with that. But that might even be down the line. That would be also if it's something that it's a game I need to hear, like if it's something I haven't played yet, and when people wanted to see me play through something live. Zombie Boy asked, what about Farming Simulator? I mean, maybe. Stardew Valley might be something, because what's funny about me and Stardew, I've talked about before, that Stardew sort of stressed me out to play, which is ironic. But there's some games that...
Do they have a Wizard Simulator, or is that just Hogwarts Legacy?
No, I'll play through Hogwarts Legacy too. That was fun. I did everything though, so there's nothing else to do. But or I guess Skyrim. I guess too. I could do a Skyrim playthrough, because I love Skyrim, so I could play through that and do a Wizard of Wordplay character in that. Zombie Boy said him too. Like, it's weird because what Stardew, you have, once I found out that like relationship hearts go down and like you only have so much energy in the day, otherwise you pass out. It's just like there's too much to do and time is still moving forward, and it's like I can't do the summer harvest because I got a plan, So anyway, yeah, so that'll be something in November that we'll mess around with, and like I said, maybe just have just sit here and enjoy it, and have everyone talk to me, and while I'm playing, if I'm playing like crap, everyone can be like, you're playing like crap, and so that'll be fun. But yeah, and like I said, might be Power Wash Simulator. If the Shrek DLC is working at that time, then I can play that. But that still no patch for that Shrek DLC. And there's other games that I could play. Like I said, if I don't get the ability to hear the game, holds back a lot of them. Otherwise, I can play a lot of games. Like even if it was Kingdom Hearts, right? You don't really need to hear Kingdom Hearts most of the time, and the other times the music gets you copyright struck, right? So it's like
the opening does.
Yeah, well, Atlantica gets you popped.
Yeah. Atlantica does too.
Too close to Under the Sea. I think the battle theme of Pirates.
Yes.
Because that's just the he's a pirate.
I mean, it won't give you a copyright strike, but it's like a copyright claim, so you won't be able to monetize.
Yeah. Which, as of right now, I'm not monetized anyway. I think all my streams get copyright claimed because I use the wizard song from Looney Tunes show, and then I use the sax song at the end of the stream, and that's from something. But by the time I'm actual monetized, I'll just have new things. By then, it won't matter. But we've been getting good numbers, surprisingly. Past 3 clips got over 100 views. So that's really cool.
Yeah, that's progress, man.
Yeah,
It's it
but
starts
like
out
what would the
slow, and then you'll have a moment where you'll see a lot of growth, and then you'll have a slowdown, and it's like, yo, internet, I want to get to 1,000 subs. Let's go. We've been sitting at 800 for a couple of months now. What's happening?
yeah, let me pull up my thing here.
But once you
I
hit
was-
500, you'll be able to get like super chats and channel
yeah,
memberships, and then once you hit 1,000, you can get like ad revenue.
yeah, the super chats would be nice to get that. There's also the watch hours you got to build up to as well, but
Well,
um,
yeah, but usually by the time you get to the sub count, you usually by then you're gonna have the watch hours.
yeah.
Like that just tends to follow.
Yeah, so our Avatar GeoGuessr got almost 250 um, views, which that one was surprising because besides like this, the very first one, this Batman one, getting like 145 nearly. Like this was just like, wow, it's just going out of nowhere. And I knew based on this thumbnail and kind of what I worded it, I was like, oh, okay. Like I had I had someone in the comments saying where they got, right? Like, oh, I got that with the one that I got wrong. They're like, oh, I got that one, right?
Right.
And
Well, two, you're also using good thumbnails.
yeah, I like these thumbnails.
People, a lot of people don't realize like thumbnails are a big part of getting your video recognized, and I mean sometimes you don't know, man. Like sometimes a video, like you won't think a video would take off and it does. Like to this day, the biggest viewed video I have is on my gaming channel. It's a Kingdom Hearts 4 world list, like a wish list of
Mhm.
worlds that I want in the game. It's got 75,000 views.
Yeah, like I said, I'm pretty sure I watched that before I even knew you. um,
And
like
then like on this channel, I think my highest viewed video is where I talk about like if I could only choose one, would I'd rather have Spider-Man 4 like Tobey Maguire or Amazing Spider-Man 3 with Andrew Garfield. And I think that one's no, wait a minute. Hold on. Is it that one or is it it might be the Star Wars video. I don't remember.
but this one here, it's in my intro, my DC intro is the copy art of the Justice League first appearance. That one got 290 for no reason. Like I don't know what did it. I also noticed that the Wonder Woman one, like it was basically because I think like Wonder Woman's in both tags. Like for whatever reason, the Wonder Woman hits the algorithm. But then like none of my art videos did any good until the Spider-Man one near the end got like 109. But then this one has Wonder Woman in it and on the thumbnail, and it only got 18. So I don't get the algorithm sometimes. But
The algorithm is weird. Listen, man, it's like they say like God's ways are not our ways. The algorithm's ways are not our ways, man.
yeah. And so yeah, like I was surprised how well the Superman Legacy one was doing. And then like this one actually has like Snyder fans in the comments mad at us, by the way.
Snyder fans exist in a constant state of hatred.
But
Okay,
we were
yeah,
like,
it's the one where I talk about if I want Spider-Man 4 or Amazing Spider-Man 3, that's at 12,000 views, and then my second highest one is the one where I go about Last Jedi versus Rise of Skywalker, which one is the worst movie. That's got 9.5 thousand views. So
and then this one, the Liza P one, I'm surprised based on its length. Like 1 hour and 6 minutes. I'm surprised. Almost hour and 7. 167 views. And like I thought people were gonna ignore this one, but
I
no,
will
like
say the sweet spot seems to be like 10 to 15 minutes.
I've seen, like I always kind of go from half hour to 40 just because like we talk for a lot, but like I've seen clips that I've done, for other channels that gone longer. I mean, most people leave, but as far as like the view count goes, as long as you stay for like a certain, time,
If I was
it
you,
counts.
I would also try and do some shorts.
I'm looking at doing shorts. I wanted to do something cool for the shorts, and which is why I started digitally drawing. I guess I'll spoil it. I wanted to have like an avatar of us talk when because the way you do shorts that I've done in the past with these panel shows is kind of like doing multiple screens, multiple copies of the video synced up where they can all see our faces. And those worked, right? But because like you have that small screen, right? There's only so much you can do. But what I wanted to kind of do is have like a little wizard talk, and then like, you know, a little Jesker talk, and it's, you know, you with the hood and the black hair, right? And then like Cynic, and it's like a little statue guy, you know, and stuff like that. And so that's something I wanted to do. And so the shorts might take time. And it's also because like it's hard picking out, like now you can do shorts that are 3 minutes, but it's hard to pick out a little section like that. That's usually us telling a joke. And by the time the stream's over, I've completely forgotten it. You know, clipping stuff out is easy because I can just, I know like we're talking about this topic and then we're going to move on. We're talking about this topic. And so it's like, take that, you know, isolate it. There you go. Very rarely do I actually go in and edit stuff out because we never really circle back to a topic. We stay on and then we're done and then we move on. So
yeah, like we'll get through a topic and then we like argue and shit, and then it'll be like at the end of it, be like, guys, we need to move on. It's like, well, blah 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 blah, blah, like a news panel or something, blah 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 blah. So fuck you.
Yeah, we are pretty good about staying on topic. When we get off topic, it's when we're supposed to be off topic, because usually I kind of like I loosen the leash and let us kind of go off topic, but
which sometimes leads to your best moments.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to do, was have a show that had the structure, right, where I bring like here's the topics, right, but then if we get off talking about whatever, that's what we want, right? And those are the, like, that's I always had said that I wanted it based on like the streams I've gone on with you, right, where when I come onto your channel, you know, you can be talking about whatever, and I've mentioned like the whole Goldar versus Luke Skywalker thing, and you know, and when I've shown my collection stuff on stream, which I do intend to do when the need arises for it. It's in case of emergency, break glass kind of things, just like ranting about Immortal Thor, which I almost had to do because Jesker didn't show up until the last second. I almost had nobody. And I was like, I can talk about Immortal Thor because I still haven't read the recent issue, but there's still stuff going on there. And or stuff that I have mentioned on other streams, but never on my own, where I could be like, listen, you know, just that first issue when Thor tells a snowstorm to go away or he will hurt it or whatever, he's like, or there will be consequences, and the snowstorm disappears in one panel, is still the coolest thing. Like, because
that reminds me, I thought we were doing the Marvel list.
No, so because next week is the Halloween special,
right,
which we'll talk about more at the end of the show, where we're going to be doing a tier list of candy.
Right.
So I didn't want to do tier list and tier list right next to each other. Just because then it's like, I don't know, we're just doing tier lists all the time. I don't know. So we I kind of went back and forth with Cynic and Snowman, and I was like, do I do it? And then luckily the news came to me, so it was like, oh, okay. When it's good that I didn't, because it would have just been us, right, doing and I wanted it to be like a full panel arguing about where the movies go. So the MCU tier list will be put on hold for a time, but it's next to the other things of like, in case of emergency, break glass, because sometimes there might not be news to talk about, and then we'll have those moments of, you know, like, here's what we're gonna do. But I think that was everything that happened this week. Yeah, so drew stuff. And really, like, I'll go back to the drawing tablet thing again, but just that I'm finding myself now going to sleep excited to draw tomorrow, and then
that's a good feeling, man. That's a good
just
feeling.
Like and then just sitting at my desk all day for like most of the day, and then just like, man, like they're from going to like never drawing things for weeks now to just being like, man, I'm excited to just draw because it's hitting me really good, and I'm ready to do it, and so I want to start making more like random drawings to like post on Twitter and stuff to try to like get like art Twitter to kind of like, look at me, because I need more followers. I crossed over 100 followers on Twitter and then had to purge all the porn bots. So I went down to like 70. I went down to 77.
You got hit by the sex bots. Oh, okay.
No, they were bad on mine. I had 30 something. I just let them stack up. I was like forgetting. Like I would see the notification, know it was fake. I was like, oh, whatever. I'll get to them, right? And then like people tell me like, oh, you passed over 100 followers. I'm like, oh, cool. And then I was like, yeah, but those are the bots though. I'm like, should I get rid of them? And I'm like, yeah, I'll get rid of them. And so yeah, so I dropped all the way back down.
Yeah, I've been getting some new followers on Twitter too. Yeah, quite a few.
Yeah, I had somebody message me on Twitter saying that they subscribed to my channel, and that they knew me from past streams, right? And they looked forward to me or enjoyed my commentary on that stream, and that they were basically happy to see that I have my own thing. And so yeah, that was really cool to see. Swan wants to know if that's everything that happened this week. Basically, yeah. So, Jesker, you can talk about your car problem, or I mean, you've touched on it already.
Yeah. So Saturday, I was coming home, and thankfully, I was close to home, and my car started acting up. It was acting sluggish. The electronics were acting weird, and I got it to my house, and it went kaput. And I was like, well, crap, I probably need like a new battery or something. And so I was like, okay. But I got a scan tool and I checked it, and turns out it's actually the alternator. And the alternator is the part on a vehicle that is responsible for charging the battery while you're driving. So like, I don't know how all the stuff works, to be honest with you. I'm terrible when it comes to cars, but I just know it's supposed to charge the battery, essentially. Anyways, that's not working. The scan tool said it's completely dead, so I'm having to get a new alternator, which I'm probably not going to be able to get to the end of the week, and because those suckers are expensive. If you get a brand new one, it goes anywhere from like 300 to 350, and yeah, it's not good. It's expensive, but it's just something I got to do. I got to get it fixed because it's 2024. You have to have a car. You have to have a vehicle. So that's kind of been the big thing this week, and that's been a pain in the ass.
Pole's collar.
But yeah, so there's that, and then I've also been playing around with Unreal Engine. I got that on my computer. I've been playing around with that. I don't know. I kind of like to see what I can make in it.
Like, are you going to do like video game? Are you going to do like cinematics? Like,
I don't know. Right now, I guess I'd probably start off with cinematics, because I would assume like having to program like video game characters and stuff would probably be a lot more complicated than just making cinematics. But I just downloaded it to play around with it, see what I can do.
Zombie Boy says smut.
No, get your mind out of the gutter.
No, you don't use Unreal Engine for that. It's like, Source Filmmaker.
I did find out, though, if you do create something using Unreal Engine and you like get it published or whatever, you don't have to pay any royalties until you hit $1 million.
Huh.
And once you hit $1 million, it's only like 5% you pay to Unreal Engine.
That's cool. That explains why a lot of like indie games use Unreal Engine stuff.
Yeah, no joke. Like if I hit $1 million on something, 5%'s 50,000. Yeah, I'm good with that. I get 950,000. Well, after taxes, but it's still like that's a pretty good. I mean that's a pretty good cut. I would say that's pretty fair.
Zombie Boy asked, "Do you know how to code simple games?"
Nope, that's something I'm gonna have to learn. But that's
I took
what
a
the
coding
internet is
class.
for.
I took a coding class in high school. It was like the first year they offered it. It was just like had the book, and then you like had the software, and you kind of like, this is the lesson for today. Like make this. It was really more of an animation class, but it was also like it was done in coding, but it was like pick a biped model and make it throw a football. And so you had to like move arm down, and then do this, and then have football here, and then make football move in sync with the it was pretty fun. It was definitely more of like video game animation type focused, to where, if I could kind of mess around with some animation or so if I wanted to. I do have in mind of like, man, I wish there was a video game based on my comics, right? Like that's something where it's like, I think about that every so often. I'm just like, man, and I want to make the comics, but I also want to make the video game too. So, I'm like, I can't do it all, so.
No, you need to pick one, stick to one, go with that, and then you can do like, adaptations later on if you want to.
Licenses.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I intend to do, but I just love the idea of just being a jack of all trades. Like, and just being like, yeah.
But you know what they say about jack of all trades?
Yeah.
Master of none.
Like I draw the book, I write the book, and I do all that, and then like, yeah, I got the video game. Yeah, I did the video game myself, right? And best case scenario, it takes off to where I can do, stuff like that, and have someone to be like, yeah, we have this idea for a game. Because really what I would want is simple superhero games that are kind of retro, in the sense that it's like the X-Men Sega Genesis game, right? Where it's, it's a side scroller, you go into a base and you fight the boss. And I've thought about it where it's like, I want to have like a character select type thing where you have a whole roster at your disposal. So you can pick what hero you want to play through the game with. And the levels are all the same, but depending on what hero you have, they will play different, right? So my one character can fly, you can fly up to like extra ledges. The one character's super strong, you can use that strength to like lift up the heavy objects or get through this different path, right? So you can take a different path to reach the same destination, but it will play differently. And then the boss will be the same, but your skills will be different for the boss, and then maybe they have like a different dialogue kind of thing depending on what character you are. So that's more or less easy to do. But yeah, and then you could unlock extra characters by doing like entering codes or unlocking them somehow where it's like the other heroes that aren't part of the team, and then maybe there could be some Easter eggs in there too, like Wizard of Wordplay could be unlockable character, and it would be my wizard character, right? And, or other character, like maybe the characters from the pirate story could be in there, or something like that, right? And yeah, so that's just something where I think about that, where I'm just like, that's what we're working towards. Like another comic creator that I used to hate on said, right? The goal is to get a video game. Once we get a video game, we know we've made it. And
I mean, there is some truth to that, because when you look at the video game industry, it is, I would say, like, it's probably the fastest growing industry when it comes to entertainment, for sure. Now, some of these AAA companies are having some issues because they keep exploding the budget on developing these games, and
yeah,
that's not really the fault of like the interest in video games. It's just you guys are really not managing your money well, and we're seeing that like with Square Enix, for example, where even though Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Final Fantasy 16 sold well, they didn't hit the mark that Square Enix had set for them. And it's like, well, did you ever consider maybe you're putting too much money into this?
Yeah. The MCU movies are kind of hitting that same level of like we're throwing, in Hollywood in general, but we're throwing a bunch of money into these movies where it used to be summer blockbusters were like 2 movies a year. Now it's every movie all year round, right? Where it's like it's $1 billion movie and it has to reach $1 billion. Otherwise, it's a failure. It's a flop, right? Because we're throwing all this money at it. It's just like what happened in just making cheaper movies, cheaper games, right? And some people still do them, but it seems like so many games just want to be like, we're, you know, we want the next $1 billion franchise or something like that. We want the big thing.
Well, I think you're actually going to see, at least in the case of Square Enix, you might actually see some walk back on that. And there's been some discussion among like some strictly Final Fantasy centric channels where they're actually talking about the possibility of turn-based combat coming back because it might be more financially sustainable to do the turn-based games. And plus you're seeing like, you look at Persona and there's like I forget what it's called. There's like some new game that's being developed that's like turn-based, and it's like, it looks really, really good. Like it looks almost like a Final Fantasy game, but it's turn-based. And so there is some talk that maybe Square is actually going to go back to turn-based for Final Fantasy in order to make the development cheaper, which I'm perfectly fine with.
Yeah, especially like Japanese games, I feel like can get away with a lot of that, whereas like Western games are kind of like either like it feels like a lot of them have to be this big, huge story, Hollywood type production, and that's what gamers quote unquote expect now is these things like that. But speaking of Hollywood and video games, the God of War TV series showrunner executive producers exit as Amazon eyes new creative direction. I've heard some rumblings of this. I don't know if they mention it, but just overall, I feel like they've been going back through scripts and yeah. So Amazon and Sony will now look to hire a new showrunner and assemble a new writer's room to start fresh on the project. The show was originally ordered to series on Amazon Prime Video in 2022. God of War game, co-production between Amazon Studios and Sony Picture Television. Judkins remains under an overall deal with Sony, where he will focus on new development. He remains showrunner on the Wheel of Time series adaptation at Prime Video, going into its 3rd season. So,
remind me, is this series going to cover the Greek era, or is it just going to start with the Norse era?
I feel like they're going to just start with the Norse era. There doesn't seem to be anything here. Let me see if I can find it. I feel like knowing like Hollywood and stuff now, they're just going to jump straight into the Norse era. There's no real like Wikipedia about it or anything, so really all the news is just about the shakeup. There's nothing about the here there's news from a day ago that the Ronald D. Moore boards Amazon series' new showrunner. Showrunner MGM Studios Prime Video series God of War, based on huge popular as Deadline reported, they had completed multiple scripts prior to the changeover, which marks a shift in creative development of the series adaptation. Since he returned to Sony in June. Outlander for Stars, For All Mankind, Apple TV Plus. 4 years later, the shows are still going. Both have become franchises, spawning upcoming spin-offs. Blood My Blood, Star City, respectively. More serves as executive producer. Corey Balrog, executive producer. There's nothing really about. What there is no news, I suppose, is the
I feel like if they don't start off with the Greek stuff, then by the time you get to the Norse stuff, it's going to lose some of its impact. Because to me, as somebody that grew up playing the Greek era, seeing like Kratos' change and his character growth during the Norse games, like
Mhm.
there was just more impact there.
Yeah, like they write the Norse games with the knowledge that you have probably not heard of the other ones. And which is fine because you pick up a lot of it for the first game, and then Ragnarok kind of dumps a lot on you. That it's like once Ragnarok comes around and they start exposition dumping, it's like okay, between this game and that game, you should have learned something, right? Like you had to have picked something up. And they have like the recap thing too at the beginning of the game. But
Yeah.
the first game very much it's you're discovering, if you haven't played it, you're discovering the mystery as Kratos is revealing it to other people. So they wrote that pretty well. But there's a whole thing with this one and the next game we'll talk about where they kind of just maybe had 3 games and they shoved 2 games together to make the second game. And so I feel like they just kind of like threw together this the game to wrap it up. It's like, hey, he's gonna tell everyone everything, even though like Atreus still does not know anything besides like what he tells them. I feel like
So
I don't think.
you think the Norse stuff was supposed to be a trilogy?
Yeah, I believe that's been like all but like confirmed at this point. Possibly that they kind of PlayStation kind of rushes along their sequels. Like I said, we'll talk about that with Spider-Man here, but they I think because like you had Greek trilogy, then you had Norse trilogy, right? And I think that would have worked as a good package. And that jumping straight to Ragnarok, like I don't like. I feel like it would have been like I feel like you would have had like built up to Thor being the final boss, and then you kill Thor, right? And then you see Odin, and then Odin's the final boss of the third one, right? And you kind of work towards it. Like you could have had like um Freya, Heimdall, and Thor, right? And that's like your more or less your bosses for the game, for the sequel, unless you go with like what 2018 did, and it's like Baldur all the way through. So it'd be like Thor all the way through, Freya all the way through, whatever. But yeah, something like that. Like they kind of would have, if they would have just had more time with a lot of those Norse people, because you really only got to see them in Ragnarok because Thor and Odin. You heard about them, but you didn't have that connect the dots. I feel like as much. If they could have just given him more, like Zeus got time, right? You got time with Zeus, before you fought him. So.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Playing Ragnarok, I didn't really feel like it was rushed or anything. It just seemed like because I remember I had this debate when Star Wars Rebels came out, and it was announced it was just going to be 3 seasons. People were like, "Oh, it's going to be rushed because Clone Wars was 7 seasons," and it's like, well. Not necessarily. I mean, if they feel like they can get the story told in 3, like you don't want to draw it out and just make the pacing super slow. I mean, if that's all it takes to tell the story, that's all it takes to tell the story. And I don't know, like I didn't really feel like Ragnarok its pacing was rushed or anything.
I don't feel like you feel it in the pacing. I think it's more of the potential. I feel like you feel it in the potential more than anything, where you're like you fight Thor twice, right? And then a lot of the stuff that you kind of expect was going to happen based on stuff that was set up in 2018 just kind of was like a thing that happened, like fighting, like Thor fighting the world serpent, right? And I think maybe because it's not the pacing, but maybe it's just the plotting, where it's like Atreus's stuff was maybe too. Like there's that point where you go to Ironwood with Angrboda, where you're just hanging out with her for a little too long. I remember that's the part that like hits in the game where you're just like, yeah, okay, we didn't need to go through the whole swamp riding on to the weird animal thing. And people speculated that was the Sweet Baby Inc. Stuff. Or at least I did, because they said that there was Sweet Baby Inc. stuff in there, and I was like, there's not really anything that's too egregious. And I thought that was like, maybe that was the only really thing that was like too weird, but because of Anger Boda stuff. But otherwise it's like, like that was really the only thing that was like, but that is to say that the TV show, I feel like I almost feel like you could fast forward through Greece if you really wanted to, but like, because you could probably tell all of Kratos' story in like a movie length of time, because if you cut out the fetch quest and the like, you need Ares because that's how he becomes God of War, right? You need Zeus because that's his dad and he kills him. You need the box because the hope goes into him, and that's later on important. You need Athena, and all that stuff. So I just wonder what else then you could, if you could rush it and do like 3 episodes and then jump. But so I don't know. I feel like you have to do Greece. You have to do Greece, and I fear they're not going to. I feel like they're going to just jump straight to Norse, and if you're going to do straight to Norse, you got to do Greece in flashbacks. You got to show us, right? And you could make a lot of it. You could tell a lot of the story in it's like, this is the past Kratos is hiding, but we, the audience who don't know, aren't going to see it. It will just be alluded to. And then you get into the, like, this is the reason, right? Or something like that.
Yeah, maybe. I guess, I don't know. Maybe it's just me wanting them to like really fill things out, and plus, I've always been a fan of Greek mythology, so I just want to see that. The Greek stuff in live action, I think, would be cool. I wonder like who they would get to be Zeus, who they would get to be Ares, what they would look like.
Well, you get Edge to play Ares, like in the Percy Jackson Disney Plus show.
Oh, does Edge play him in the Percy Jackson Disney Plus show?
The wrestler Edge plays
Interesting.
Ares.
I can see that.
They were like, he auditioned, and like I think Rick even said like he was perfect, like he was the guy, he's perfect Ares. Or you get Liam Neeson to play Zeus, like in Clash of the Titans.
I do think he played a damn good Zeus in that movie.
He probably could do a decent one again. Really, like what you're gonna miss in Greek, the retelling of Greece is there'll be no nudity. You're not getting that nudity. You're gonna get male nudity. You're not gonna get female nudity. No Aphrodite, that'll be gone. Yeah, like they'll tone down the murders probably that Kratos does. Zombie Boy says good. No female nudity. Yeah, I don't like, at least with God of War 2018, there's a better blueprint. So that really brings me into what I wanted to talk about, which is video game adaptations in general. So I had Zombie Boy says only Dong. So Zombie Boy wants Dante's Inferno.
All right. Well, we see which side of the fence Zombie Boy swings for. Okay.
So the video game adaptations have kind of become the new Hollywood like golden goose. I had discussed this before on a different stream about how comic book movies have kind of gone by the wayside, and that I think Hollywood is kind of seeing that, where it used to be superhero movies and comic book movies were the grift, right? They were the golden goose. At post Endgame, the numbers have kind of gone down, and that's when video game adaptations have rose up. You got like people starting they wanted the Halo show, right? Regardless of how it turned out, right? They wanted the Halo show. They wanted Borderlands. They wanted Fallout. They wanted Last of Us, Super Mario, Legend of Zelda. Like, you know, they have all these kind of coming. There's a lot more than that. Like, the Rampage movie was a thing. Like, there was, let me look up, like, there's a Wikipedia list for like upcoming, like Arcane. You know, these are old ones. Trying to see if there's like upcoming. Yeah, upcoming. Sonic the Hedgehog 3, Minecraft, Until Dawn's getting a show. The Mortal Kombat movie's getting a sequel. Five Nights at Freddy's getting a sequel. There's a Watch Dogs movie coming out. There's a new Street Fighter movie. The Silent Hill movie. There's a Bendy and Ink Machine movie, or a show or whatever. Days Gone is getting a movie. Death Stranding is getting a movie, which
this seems like it's too much too fast.
Dead by Daylight's getting a movie. Dead Island is getting a movie. Duke Nukem is getting a movie, which that could work only if it's like a Deadpool style, like ironic, like parody of video game movies.
So who do you credit for getting the modern trend of video game movie adaptations going?
Well, you have Sonic helped a lot.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think it's Sonic.
So like if we look at these are just even like from a little bit ago, right? So you have the Silent Hill movie from 2006, right? Like, you know, this is the Rotten Tomatoes, I believe, right here. Yeah, Rotten Tomatoes. So like we can go back to Super Mario Bros. Movie, 29% Rotten Tomatoes. Double Dragon movie, 12%. Street Fighter, 11%. Mortal Kombat, 45%. You know, Mortal Kombat Annihilation, 4%. The Lara Croft movies were the best box office wise video game movies for the longest time. Resident Evil, 33, right? You know, we go down to then you know, a lot of the ones I sort of remember, like Need for Speed movie, you know, like the Agent 47 movies, they tried Hitman so many times. Warcraft bombed, Assassin's Creed bombed, more Resident Evil movies. The Tomb Raider reboot movie did okay, but didn't really leave an impression. Rampage was a Dwayne The Rock Johnson movie. And but yeah, so Detective Pikachu is 53, right? Pokemon is Pokemon, though. I always consider Pokemon separate from a video game sort of thing. It still counts, but it's still at the end of the day one of the most top grossing franchises ever, regardless.
Yeah, Pokemon has just built-in success.
Yeah. But yeah, so Sonic the Hedgehog, during pandemic numbers, right? 2020, February 2020. So like we were locked down, I believe, or shortly before. Yeah, made $300 million, 63% of Rotten Tomatoes. You know, and then the Monster Hunter movie came out. That didn't, I don't think did good, but it's got 45%. But it has nothing to do with Monster Hunter. So, Mortal Kombat movie, and then we kind of got like the Uncharted movie. Sony started doing that, and Sonic 2 came out. Five Nights at Freddy's came out. Then Borderlands came out. You know, but I think it was around Sonic they started just green lighting everything. This doesn't even have Last of Us on here.
I think the reason why is because no one expected the Sonic movie to be as good as it was, and then it came out and it was like, oh, this is actually really, really good. And I think that's kind of what got these studios to thinking, wait a minute, there might be a gold mine here.
Trying to find here's live action television shows. Yeah, they had really there was really nothing until Halo really for TV, where we're gonna make this the live action video game adaptation. Was Halo, and then they had Resident Evil on Netflix, and then Knuckles, and then you had Last of Us, Twisted Metal, and Fallout, and then there's a Yakuza one, apparently. There's some scripted ones. There's nothing about in development. So there's an Among Us TV show happening, Earthworm Jim, Final Fantasy 9, Golden Axe, Grounded, Kingdom Hearts is still on here. They've been rumoring that forever. That
Let's
show is never.
go.
That show is
Let's
never happening.
go.
That
Let's
will never
do
happen.
it.
Minecraft TV show, animated TV show. Splinter Cell, Vampire Survivors, Watch Dogs, an animated show instead of just live action. There is that Assassin's Creed live action they've been talking about.
Another one?
So this will be a show, which live Assassin's Creed as a show is a lot easier of a thing to stomach. Disco Elysium, Final Fantasy, a series, God of War show we were talking about. Life is Strange, which there's actually been some talk of that. The newest Life is Strange having some stuff making people mad. It's pretty funny. Mass Effect, Plague Tale, Skull and Bones, which that is the most like I don't know what you even describe that like plant. Like this it's like having a Concord show, which they're ironically sort of doing. System Shock, Tomb Raider, and Vampire. I believe it's on here, the series about video games. I don't remember what it's called. But there's a new show coming out. Let me see if I can find it. Where each episode is like an adaptation of a video game. Yeah, we talk Cyberpunk Edge Runners is also on here. Castlevania, the anime show, right? That basically video game adaptations are the new thing. I'm trying to find.
Oh yeah, I totally agree with that. Like I think video game adaptations are basically the new superhero films.
Secret level, that's what it is.
And I think once the Legend of Zelda movie comes out, I think that's going to solidify it.
Yeah, so Secret Level is an upcoming American adult animated anthology series for Amazon Prime Video. It has Arnold Schwarzenegger, Kevin Hart, Keanu Reeves, like Laura Bailey, all these people. So basically the idea is like each episode is a different franchise. So they have Armored Core, Concord, which is funny because that game no longer exists. Crossfire, Dungeons and Dragons, Honor of Kings, Mega Man, Pac-Man, a PlayStation Sony story, right? Sifu, The Outer Worlds of all things, Unreal Tournament, and Warhammer Space Marine. So it'll be an animated show that'll basically be each episode being in a universe or whatever it's going to be, right? So you'll have that too, which on its own will have any game you could really think of, past or present, that could just be the new thing. And that, that's crazy.
Yeah, I think we're kind of in, if I was to describe it, I would say that right now we're kind of in the phase of video game films in the same way that we were with superhero films, like before the MCU, but like during like the original X-Men trilogy of films, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man, like we're kind of in that phase right now. And then like
Fantastic Four, the Nolan Batman,
right. And then I think the Nintendo stuff, if they end up going the route of like having all their films lead up to a Smash Brothers movie, that could be like the start of the video game MCU phase.
Yeah. If they wanted to do that, I do. So what I was going to talk about, I don't know if you watched The Last of Us show, or played the game at all.
Oh yeah, I love the first Last of Us game. I don't care about the second one.
But did you watch the show at all?
Yes, I did watch the show.
Okay, so I liked the show because of when it was sticking directly to the game. It was good because it was a way for someone to experience the game without playing it, right? And I've always said that with things that if you're going to do it, do a 1-to-1, right? For that very reason. Someone needs to be able to experience this in a new way so that it's easier, right? Like I watched Last of Us with my mom, right? Because it was like I've shown her game cutscenes before and stuff like that. And it's hard to get into for someone who has never had to do that, right? And so with that, it was the TV show, it had the drama, it was everything. It was like, and I was able to go like, this is exactly like the game. This is good so far, right? It's all good. And then episode 3 was completely different, but it still kind of worked, but it was more just like, okay, this is weird and different. But okay, I get that. But and if I've seen people then who watch the show go and play the game, and then they're just like, wow, this is wildly different, right? They have always the reverse, effect. So I like that. So that's why it's like for this game, for this show with the God of War show, I would hope that someone were to kind of have it in their head of like, okay, we are doing it 1-to-1 or like 1-to-1.5 or like 1.5 or whatever, right? Or like half a point, right? Like really close, 1 to 0.9. If we have to change stuff to make the narrative flow better, like there's a part, if it's 2018 God of War, you can cut out Alfheim. Really, it affects nothing besides just getting the light of Alfheim, and then you're done. You don't, and like the whole like being in the light and seeing the mom and building the mystery and all that, right? But otherwise, you can skip really right to when they enter the light, and you're fine. You don't miss anything, and so really, there's that. Yeah, so this show I would want to be 1-to-1. Even if they're adapting Greece, you can cut a lot of Greece out just because of the nature of video games and story. But you still have to keep it as close as possible so that someone can go like, this is exactly like was in the game, right? And if they want to show someone or tell them like, like I told my brother to watch Last of Us, I say, hey, listen, Last of Us show is good. It's exactly like the game, and you haven't played the game, so it's like, exactly like the game. And I've had people say that they like Walking Dead. They're like, you want Last of Us got more Walking Dead. Really, what you kind of liked about Walking Dead that they stopped doing, Last of Us got that, right? So it's, he watched Walking Dead, so I'm like, hey, got that Walking Dead in there. But yeah, so, or you do something like Fallout, where it takes place in the universe, but it's separate from all the games, but it has all the stuff that you kind of recognize and can kind of like point at the lore things, or you do what Warcraft did, and it's about something that from the lore, but you're actually seeing it. That wouldn't work for something like this, but for other franchises, that's cool.
Yeah, so do we know how many episodes per season the God of War series is going to be? Like,
we know nothing about the God of War series really from what I've skimmed. I'm assuming 8 because it's 2024 and that's how all TV shows are done now.
Of course it's 8. Of course
they're 8 and they're an hour long.
Well, if it's going to be 8 episodes, maybe you could do a game a season.
Yeah. Let me look up God of War's, if all the cutscenes for the very first game. Because if it's less than 8 hours, then there's no reason you can't do a 1-to-1 adaptation in an 8 episode, hour long episode show. The God of War 1 all cutscenes is 23 minutes long. So really plenty of time.
Is it really?
On this upload of it, this one is an hour with the remaster, which that might include some gameplay. This one is an hour. So really it's about an hour is the very first God of War.
What the hell?
So if you wanted to go God of War 2, that's an hour and a half length. So you could probably end the show in Midgard if you wanted to. God of War 3, hour and 40, 2 hours, 2 hours and 40. So God of War 3 is your longer one. So you could honestly fit the whole trilogy in a show. If you want to do Chains of Olympus. That's 3 hours.
Oh
but
yeah, that's the thing.
with
There's
game-
also I forgot about that. There's also
that's with game-
the spin-off titles.
Yeah, they gotta Kingdom Hearts that stuff there. They gotta go to other consoles for the full story. But even then, like it's barely like he talks about it, but like they can skip over his brother. They can skip over Demos or whatever. Yeah, you're not gonna miss anything. It's something that happens that he talks about in Ragnarok, but they only talk about it because it happened, right? It feeds nothing into his overall arc.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say that because remember, they were told that the marked child is going to be the one that would overthrow Zeus, and they thought it was Deimos to begin with.
Mhm.
And then it's only later that Zeus realized, oh, it's not Deimos that the prophecy's talking about, it's Kratos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but
So-
that's like isolated to that game, though, basically.
Well, there is a line in God of War 3 where when Zeus is talking about like Gaia choosing somebody to overthrow Olympus, Zeus does say that Gaia chose poorly. Maybe she should have chosen the other one, and Zeus is talking about Deimos.
Yeah, but even so, like, it's one line, right? I'm saying, like, if you adapt it, it won't even be there.
I want every single cutscene in there line by line, damn it.
Yeah, and then when you do the episode where he goes to PlayStation All Stars Battle Royal, right?
Yes, that's
Or
canon.
when he goes to Shovel Knight,
That's right, it's
That-
canon.
the Shovel Knight, I believe, is canon. From like,
Is it?
I don't think it's like it's like head nod canon where they're basically just like, yeah, whatever, right? Like it's not that it's like it's not true. And he also has to go to Mortal Kombat 9.
Oh yeah, that's right. He was in MK9.
It's considered yeah, so according to God of War director Cory Barlog, Kratos' appearance in Shovel Knight is considered canon to the God of War lore. A tweet made by Outcome Games also confirmed that God of War is considered canon in the Shovel Knight lore. So all of God of War's games happened in the Shovel Knight universe, and the Shovel Knight appearance happened in the God of War universe.
So they pulled a Tetsuya Nomura, basically.
Well, like, if you want to get technical, if Smash Brothers is canon to the Kingdom Hearts universe, Shovel Knight appears as an assist trophy in Smash Brothers, and so that means Shovel Knight is canon in the Kingdom Hearts, which means because God of War is canon in Shovel Knight, then God of War is canon in Kingdom Hearts.
That is nuts, dude.
So the next time that you're in the Olympus Coliseum, you're gonna hear like Zeus, and then you're gonna turn to like secret boss, and it's gonna be like Kratos walking in with his blades.
Just as soon as you step into Olympus Coliseum, you just hear Kratos shout, "Zeus, I bring the destruction of Olympus."
Like, this how you face me, coward, you know. This'll let me find it. This will be this is Kratos if he ever met Sora.
Stay back, Valentina! This monster's massacred all of our friends! Why? Why are you here, Kratos?
How tragic. It seems the only way to survive now is to sacrifice my body. Oh no.
Be gone, witch!
Oh.
What? What?
That Greek nigga! Give me your
No!
Up on the bed and I'm cutting up.
Yeah.
Not my boy Pet. No.
So yeah, because the Greeks They like their the Spartans like their young lads. So
No.
Kratos can't ever meet Sora.
No. Oh God. Oh God. No. Whoa. No.
That's what I'm saying. Like if Kratos ever met Sora in the Olympus Coliseum, that's what you're gonna get.
Yikes. I mean, it is historically accurate, though.
Historically accurate. Speaking of PlayStation games, a game you haven't played, which now you will be fully able to do it in any or in at least another console, because Spider-Man 2 is coming to PC January 2025.
Is it coming to Mac?
Oh, I have no idea.
I have a Mac.
Via Steam and Epic Game Store. So any of those are on there. They talk about Spider-Man 2 and all this stuff and how it's going to have everything that you want and all the suits and the stuff they've added that was in the first game but wasn't in the second one, like New Game Plus, time of day change, all that. They go through the story, but there's a line here that is, can't remember where it is. I had it highlighted, but then I clicked and it went away. But basically that, yeah, here it is. Maybe. Okay. While we have no additional story content planned for Spider-Man 2, we're delighted to bring all previously released stuff. So yeah, so Spider-Man 1 had the City That Never Sleeps DLC, which had 3 story things that took place after the game, and they all linked together. So it was about the growing mob like families threat, basically. And then you team up with Black Cat in the first level pack, and then she leaves, and then second one you team up with Yuri, and then she leaves, and then third one you team up with Silver Sable, and you had like they really helped for the life of the game, and especially for Spider-Man 2, which we were talking about was like rushed Sony sequel. Spider-Man 2 was rushed. You could feel it in the pacing, you could feel it in the story, you could feel it in the spectacle, right? Like I said with God of War, stuff that they could have done, you kind of feel like they kind of did it too fast. One of them is Venom. Venom, you get the symbiote suit, right? Half or like first quarter of the way through the game. And then Venom is the final boss. Spoilers for Spider-Man 2. But like, it feels like this should have been what happened halfway through the game, and then you end the game with the Venom symbiote, and then Venom's the final boss of the third game. Or you end the game ripping the Venom symbiote off, and then Venom's the final boss of the third game, right? Or something.
Yeah, now that I agree with. Like, I didn't feel like the Ragnarok was rushed in any ways, but no, Spider-Man 2, like, again, I've not played Spider-Man 2, but just like seeing it on like YouTube and stuff, I'm like, there's a lot crammed into this game, man. Like, it's kind of all over the place, and it kind of feels like there's like different disparaging plot points to where they're are not disparaging. What the hell am I saying? Disconnected plot points that they're trying to mesh together. Kind of trying to put puzzle pieces where they don't really belong.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, like I can tell more like with that game that it does seem like it was probably more rushed. And I get it on the one hand, because it's like, yeah, Spider-Man, the first one on the PS4 was like a huge success, but like, daggum, people like... Stop getting this idea in your head that just because you have a successful game, like you can put out any old schlock with the sequel and everybody's just going to roll over and accept it. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and the second game had it had a lot to kind of do, but people still kind of like had it kind of in their heads of a better flow, right? And then they introduced Craven out of nowhere for the sequel to be the villain. It's like, okay, he's really cool, but he doesn't get much time to shine because he's dead at about like the 3/4 mark or something. And you're just like, man, like I Craven could have been like his own guy, right? You get Lizard for a little bit. It's like, yeah, okay, cool. And they juggled so many with that Sinister Six and in the first one, and you're like, yeah, like, okay, we can there's a lot kind of going on. But then they shoved everyone into side quests, kind of like Arkham Knight style, where it's just like, yeah, here's Chameleon at the end of the side quest, and we're gonna set him up for the sequel, who he'll probably just be a side quest. And here's Carnage is teased at the end of a side quest, and people expected him to be DLC, where he'll probably just be in the sequel in a side quest, because Spider-Man 3 already has so much going for it. You have the Goblin, you have Doc Ock's revenge, you have if you do Chameleon, if you do Carnage, you have so much already to kind of work with, that it's like, is Spider-Man 3 going to feel really rushed? You have Silk now is going to be in there. Miles is already there. And Miles was shafted in Spider-Man 2 story because they had to cram Miles in, right? Like Miles all you want, but the whole reason they talked about in the marketing that Spider-Man 2 is because there's 2 Spider-Man, right? It's like, yeah, that's cool, but Miles didn't have anything really to do. Like, they always should have kept Spider-Man as a Peter game and had Miles as a character that was there, and he would get his own game where you could flesh out all of his stuff. But basically, they shoved a Miles Morales 2 into Spider-Man 2 to the detriment of a lot of the pacing with Spider-Man 1 or with Spider-Man 2 and with Peter and his Harry problems that become the Venom problems. And they also tried to do like Web of Shadows, right? Like, so here's the symbiotes. They tried to do Web of Shadows in the same game, and it was too much. And that's basically the consensus you'll see now online, is some people will call that the game's still great and all this, but really it's that the game was rushed and that they tried to do too much in its sequel that they really should have held back on. They should never try to do Web of Shadows. They should have just had it been a grounded Venom wants revenge on Spider. If you're going to do Venom, he wants revenge on Spider-Man, and he tries to make his life terrible, right? Like, that could have been its own game, but they tried to do way too much.
Yeah, because I thought going into I figured that Miles would have some kind of involvement because they set him up at the end of Spider-Man 1, but I thought the main thing was going to be like Peter and Harry and the symbiote.
Yeah.
And that doesn't seem to, it just seems like they were like, we're going to do this and we're going to do that and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And it's like, Fred, stop it. The game goes out in 3 hours. It's like, shit.
And then even then, the open world is really good. It's really good New York. And apparently they actually had to rebuild it for the PS5 because they couldn't copy over the PS4 version without it like breaking or something. But so they had to rebuild it. So that took some time away. But in general, like, okay. But the map is so empty. Like I still, that Spider-Man PS1 is still just the best one. Like, it is hands down. Besides the traversal of Spider-Man 2, there's nothing that comes close to Spider-Man 1. Spider-Man 1 is just the Spider-Man game, and Spider-Man 2 just does not reach that same level. And one way Spider-Man 1 did that was that its map is really, really, it's small, but it's big because it's a big map, but you can move so fast and swing so great that it's kind of small, right? But it's dense. It's filled with things, bad guy bases and collectibles and all this stuff. It's a really good experience. But Spider-Man 2's map is really big and it's practically empty because the backpacks are gone. You get little spider robots that you collect to unlock a cutscene with a character that was cut out of Across the Spider-Verse. So you don't even know who it is because they cut her from the movie because the movie was rushed. and then like the bases are like I feel like there's like 10 of one type, and then 10 of like a stealth type, and then that's it. Those are your bases, and then you have like symbiote nests, which by the time you unlock those towards the end of the game, you're kind of done with them. And then once you complete the game and you've from the lore of the story destroyed all symbiotes, even if they're still nests, like that's stupid, but it should happen like after you clear all the nests, and then they get we've destroyed all the symbiotes show up at every crime in the city. So even if you want to just stop a random mugging, symbiotes could still just show up, and then all of a sudden you're fighting symbiotes. And it feels like it's every crime. And it's just like, okay, like Spider-Man 1, when you beat every single gang, every base, and every crime that they commit, they disappear entirely from the game unless you redo their missions. Because it's like, they're gone. You beat them. So now the crime you're committing is just normal thugs. So if you want to just throw on a Spider-Man skin, go swing around and stop some crimes, you can just do that, and you're normal street level thugs. Now it's like, well, now you gotta kill symbiotes all the time. And it's like, okay, like there was that was like, I would play through Spider-Man 1 1,000 times more than I'd play through Spider-Man 2 again. The only reason I was going to play through Spider-Man 2 was for the DLC, because we all knew they were going to do it. They're like, yeah, we're going to do DLC, so I'm going to play through before the DLC, refresh myself and all that. And then, DLC come out and I'll play that. And but it's like I play through Spider-Man 1 like right now. Like, that game's great. And I don't know if you know this, Jesker, but Insomniac had some troubles recently, which led to the cancellation of this DLC, rumored cancellation, because there never was confirmed they were going to do it. But Insomniac had a massive hack happen that caused like gigabytes or terabytes of information really to be leaked out, including the personal information of employees, which that's terrible. The hackers wanted like ransom and all this stuff, and Sony didn't pay it, so then they leaked out all the information. That completely made Insomniac go radio silent. Like, they dropped everything. They didn't say anything. They completely, they stopped everything. With that, we saw a lot of the leaked Wolverine game, test footage of that. Lots of spoilers with that, including like a different playable character, which would have been amazing to be a surprise, but oh well. One of the things that leaked out was their roadmap for their future games. And it says that after Spider-Man 2, they were going to do a Venom game. Instead of a Miles game, a side Miles game, you get a Venom game. Despite that not making sense for the game, like it doesn't, in the story of the game, you destroy the Venom symbiote really, and it's all gone. Yet they're going to do a Venom solo game. So,
well, could it be a sort of prequel?
Not really, because the symbiote, with the plot of the game, the symbiote gets immediately captured by Oscorp, and then it's used on Harry inside the pod, and then Venom doesn't become Venom until he's just like the comics, he doesn't become Venom until after he's bonded with Spider-Man. And so, I'm assuming they'll make it work somehow. Eddie Brock is in the universe, so, but that game might also be canceled. We don't know, because the leak really hit them that bad that it's like Wolverine will be the game, right? Like, at least with Venom, there's a playable Venom, right? Because, spoilers again for Spider-Man 2, there's a point where you play as Venom. And it's pretty great. It's a great moment where you rampage through Oscorp, brutally incapacitating, because you don't really murder, but you do, brutally incapacitating the Oscorp guards. And so the Venom is there, and people were able to glitch out of the map to play. You can't web swing because they didn't program it, but you could jump. But, he can kind of interact with the world, right? So you could do, with what they built, you could do a Venom game. The map's already done, and you could do Carnage there if you wanted to, but it's just like, okay, like, then why set him up? It's just a hard thing. But there's a point when Insomniac updated their game to add. I think it was to add the night and day, or to add the new game plus, or add something. People were able to find a dev debug menu, and by clicking around, they found Beetle villain arc, Beetle Janice intro, Beetle reveal, Beetle construction, Beetle ambush. So like all the like the cutscenes basically of this Beetle DLC, which was rumored for a while that there was going to be this Beetle DLC with Tombstone's daughter Janice as the Beetle. And so people kind of expected like, okay, yeah, like this Beetle DLC would be the first one, and then they're going to do like Carnage in the second one or something like that. So we kind of expected this Beetle thing. And then now with this announcement, no more DLC. It's like, okay, like, you know, like when, like then what happened to this, right? And so it sucks because it was clearly the leak, right? It was clearly the hacking in the leak is what made him cancel. I don't think that people calling this game rushed or unfinished or anything like that is what did it, because something like this would only help your game, I feel. And so yeah, so it's unfortunate. That Spider-Man 2 is basically done. Because it did need a little extra cooking, and some DLCs might have helped cushion that blow a little bit.
Well, I guess if there's going to be a silver lining here, the silver lining would have to be if they're not going to work on the DLC, this gives them more time to work on Spider-Man 3.
Yeah, either let me see if I can find the leak roadmap. Because Spider-Man 3 was like down there. That really what was crazy was the yeah, here. So I don't know if you're a Ratchet and Clank guy, but
no, I never really got into the series.
Yeah, so Venom 2025 and then Wolverine 2026. And which is crazy because Wolverine was announced like 3 years ago.
Why is that? Why is that crazy?
Well, like it was 3 years ago from now, so it was like 2020 is when they announced it. So then it'd be like, and it's not coming out until 2026. You know,
sir.
Okay.
Kingdom Hearts 3 was announced in 2013. We didn't get that bitch till 2019.
Yeah, but we know why we didn't get that.
It is that type of wait is nothing to me, sir. It is nothing.
Spider-Man 3 wouldn't be till 2028. Ratchet and Clank 2029. And then X-Men 2030. An X-Men game.
What?
Yeah.
So wait.
So
how would that work?
I don't know. But so the Wolverine leaks, spoilers for Wolverine and the leaks and all this, and who knows if they'll even do it. Is that one of the test footage you play as is playing as Jean Grey. So they're already, of course, Insomniac has to make you play as the redhead woman, you know, as you do. But yeah, so Jean Grey is playable in the Wolverine game. And, you know, people, you know, I'd say that leak stuff just got me more excited for the game because of that, because she plays a lot like Control, like Jessie does in Control, if you played that. She moves around, you can lift stuff and throw it. And so that'll be really fun. But yeah, so
was Jean Grey like the only other playable character in the leak for Wolverine?
Yeah, that we saw in the leak, yeah.
That seems kind of random, don't you think?
Well, according to the leak story, you're in Madripoor as Wolverine, and Jean Grey's running like a mutant orphanage or like a mutant something there. So she'll be over there. But otherwise, I don't think any of the X-Men are there. But according to the leaks, they got Sabretooth, they got Lady Deathstrike, you got Omega Red, Like I think the Wendigo, like you got like all the Wolverine people, which is cool.
Huh.
So
So, I'm assuming then Wolverine is probably going to be, I guess you would say, prequel to the X-Men game.
I mean, I would say the X-Men game is a sequel to Wolverine.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Like prequel would be that. I think prequel only works, I think, retroactively though.
well, yeah, that's true. What I mean is, it's going to lead into the X-Men game.
I assume so. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know 100% if this is true, but I believe it is. I believe that all this is a true thing. Yeah, it'll be crazy. It'll be kind of, and who knows if they've kept that roadmap, if they cancel the Venom game even, I don't know. They might just be working solely on Wolverine. I don't know how it works if they have a separate studio, like some companies do that would do like just Miles, and now they're just doing Venom while the main studio is working on Wolverine, if it's both on the same time. At least with Venom, it works the same way Miles did. That'll just be the same map, slight improvements to the gameplay, maybe a shakeup, maybe it's in winter, maybe it's not, like Miles was. But you can kind of work with what you have. They already have Venom done. They just need web swinging for him. You can.
I feel like if the Venom game is so far into development, just to drop it would just be an insane waste of time, money, and resources.
I mean, they seem to have done it with the Spider-Man 2 DLC, so
but that's DLC. That's not a full game, though.
Yeah, I think also Miles was cheaper. Miles was $50, so Venom probably is going to be like $60 because games aren't $60 anymore; they're $70. But so Venom is going to be cheaper. Guy who likes Heelys is here. Welcome. A Venom game honestly sounds bad. I prefer it as DLC. I don't know. I feel like you could, because there's been so many Venoms that are playable. Like Ultimate Spider-Man, remember, had playable Venom. And that was a cool thing for people to do. I feel like you could see, I would want Venom, that they have to make Venom its own game because people are going to buy it just off the fact that it's a Venom game, especially if it's mature and it's like, you can eat people's brains or whatever, right? Or you can be gory and gross in Venom, right? People are going to buy it off of that. And they're going to want that. And that'll be enough to sell. You can have your alternate costumes for Venom, which now you have the movie Venoms to kind of go with, at least just the one. I guess this costume doesn't really change, but I feel like it can work as its own game.
Oh yeah, I do too. I mean, Venom's definitely an iconic enough character that I can see that happening. And
even like
I don't
lethal
think
protector and all that.
Yeah, no, I don't think you could do something like, we're going to give the Lizard his own video game or something like that. Would just be, there's not as much of a following for the Lizard as there is somebody like Venom.
There's no, I don't know what you would call Lizard fans, but
Lizard people.
Yeah, Lizard people. Yeah,
it's not what the internet talks about all the time. Lizard
that's
people.
They're all just Kurt Connors fans.
Yeah, I mean that's what I always assumed.
Yeah, there is no one, I guess, really else Spider-Man villain besides maybe Kraven that could carry his own game.
Green Goblin.
Yeah,
depending on how you do it. So I don't know if you could do like a Norman Osborn game, but like if it was Harry Osborn Green Goblin, I could see a game focused around him.
Well, if you remember the Spider-Man 1 video game, the original from the movie, if you beat the game, you could play through it as Green Goblin and play through the whole story as Green Goblin.
That's just replaying the levels, so.
Yeah, but like Green Goblin, like played completely different from Spider-Man.
Yeah. What I mean is
but-
like if you're playing as Norman, excuse me, if you're playing as Norman Osborn, Green Goblin, I mean, like, what would be the plot? Like, what exactly would he be doing? Like, how would you ever be able to really get behind Norman Osborn as a main character? It just seems, to me, like having Harry Osborn as Green Goblin as the main character of a game, story wise would make more sense.
Yeah, like yeah, I don't think you could do a Goblin game besides like marketability. There's no really like, I'm sure people could point to like plots that would work for its own thing. Like at least with Venom, you have Lethal Protector, you have the other like symbiotes you can bring in if you want to, like Scream or Shriek or whatever. Well, what one was in there in the Spider-Man 2 already, but Riot and all those guys. You can bring them in.
I would just go like completely original. So like imagine a situation where I don't know, like you had this rivalry between Harry and Peter, and then like Peter dies and Harry like realizes like like, oh my god, he was a hero the entire time. I need to protect this city in his name, and then he does it as the Goblin.
Yeah. Yeah, so that being said, Spider-Man 2, it's a shame that what happened. I would have gone with DLC. Like I said, I was waiting to play it. That if they get Venom out next year, fall time, then good. If we don't hear from them until Wolverine in 2026, Agent Venom. So they did touch on Agent Venom in Spider-Man 2, but Harry becomes Agent Venom for like a few minutes, depending on how long you play that section of the game. And it's cool. It's just that, I think that they'll do Lethal Protector. It'll be Eddie Brock. They'll introduce him somehow. He'll get the symbiote. He'll become Lethal Protector. And, you'll get Tony Todd back voicing Venom, and everyone will be happy. And yeah, it'll be a shorter, cheaper, like you said, a glorified DLC kind of game. So should be fun. And that I still like Spider-Man 2 at the end of the day. I would just vastly prefer to play Miles and Spider-Man 1 and Miles again before I play Spider-Man 2 has just had so much cut out of it from 1, and so much that should have been there that wasn't, and so much that 1 did better and Miles did better, that they crammed the 2 together and forgot the rest of the games. One big thing too that I noticed when I was playing it, that I can't believe they did it. Jesker, Spider-Man, right? He upholds the law. He upholds justice. He fights crime,
He's your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
When criminals are left, right, by Spider-Man, where do they go?
When criminals are left by Spider-Man.
Yeah, like, he webs them to the wall, right?
I always assume the police show up shortly after and take him to prison.
So that's the thing. There are 0 police in this game.
Well, then how did they get to prison?
They appear there, basically. So one of the complaints about Spider-Man 1 was that you help out the cops too much, and that the cops are seen as heroes and such. So that was like said by like 2 people who had articles, right? One of them I can sort of maybe find. I remember reading it. It was the same. He made like the same article like 3 times for the 3 games. If I can find it. But basically, people are like, why are there no cops in like everything that you kind of like look up?
So, I mean, couldn't they have just been more nuanced with it? Like, I don't know, maybe have a side quest where there's like some kind of corrupt cop or something. It's like, but to just remove the cops completely, that's
From the Ringer. This is 2018. The Spider Cop problem. The Spider Cop is a reoccurring joke in the game. He helps out Yuri Watanabe, the captain of the police force, right? You help out Jefferson Davis, Miles's dad, who's a cop, and they talk about how, it's all great. It's propaganda, right? And I don't know. I don't know if
Yuri,
this is the art.
Is Yuri in Spider-Man 2?
Yeah, Yuri's in Spider-Man 2, but she's no longer a cop because of the events of the DLC. She's a vigilante.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'm trying to find the there was one I remember that was like a New York based guy, and he was mad because it's like, I don't want to help out the New York Police Department. They're evil and beat black people up. Here's Kotaku, of course. They're his allegiance to the community. One of the earliest things you do in Spider-Man is how about NYPD? You help the NYPD build surveillance towers that can listen in on calls and all that, and that's like your police scanner, right? And they're like, this is like police skin color profiling technology. He busts drug deals in his cheesy Spider Cop impersonation. Had my coworker call Spidey a narc. I found Spider-Man as good-hearted and heroic as ever. He was way more accepting of state power than I expected from a hero with a history of being wrongly maligned by the press and police. Yeah, I don't know if this is the one specifically where the guy's crying over helping out NYPD, but it's just like,
this is, yeah, it's dumb.
Like,
I mean,
missing the point.
Yeah, I mean, look, here's the thing. Like I said, do like a side quest where you have like some kind of corrupt cop or something. You could do something like that. But just to eliminate the police completely from the game, it's unrealistic.
And guy, Spider Cop should have been a costume, stash and all. That's the other thing, is there was supposed to be a Spider Cop costume. You can see it in the comic books of all things, where it's like clearly a render. It was in the Spider-Geddon crossover event that had an Insomniac Spider-Man in there. But because Insomniac caved to like the 4 people who were like, you can't have cops in here, that's terrible, they completely like gone. You help like the fire departments all the time and all that, but like cops gone. Like he says, cops showed up in the game and you'd have lines of dialogue. Yeah, like you at the after you stop a crime, you could wait and the cops show up, or you'd hear the sirens coming, or you can go to the police stations and talk to the cops and all that. It's like they're just gone. And it just seems so like forced and fake and just weird, like just to be like,
well, yeah, because it's unrealistic.
Yeah, like
I mean,
superhero, you're gonna help the cops.
And Kevin, I know we're talking about a superhero universe. There's a lot of unrealistic things in there, but it's still supposed to be based off of New York
Reality.
City, like our New York City. It's like if you remove, like, that's just stupid. I mean, because there's cops in New York City. Like I said, you can be nuanced about it. You can have some dirty cops or whatever. You can make a whole side quest or a DLC story about it.
I think they had dirty cops in the DLC for the first game because it was dealt with the mob, and the idea is like there was like paid off cops or whatever.
Yeah. But to remove them completely, it's like, come on now. Like, that's just, I mean, it's just, I don't know what else to call it. It's just stupid. It's just stupidly unrealistic.
Yeah, it's like there's GameFAQ articles about like there's no cop cars around, no law enforcement helping out with car chases, local crimes. Officers who quit the force have been rising steadily since 2019. That's just a ad thing. Like they're using real world equivalents to justify it. It's like, yeah, they just.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That's just, I mean, it's just really, that's just really dumb.
Don't want the ACAB losers crying over the game. Really, that's really all it comes down to.
That's just really dumb. I mean, it's just, I don't know. Like, at that point, you're just denying reality.
Yeah. And even if you didn't like how omnipresent the cops were, like to remove them entirely to where you're like, other first responders like paramedics and firemen, right? Get their flowers and get all that, but like not even in cutscenes, really, not even just the cars on the street. Like you completely scrubbed cops from the whole game. Like it's terrible. Even the first game, you fight Sable, which is like hired by Mayor Osborn, but so that they're technically police, but they're like military mercenaries and they're the bad guys. So you already had bad cops already in the first game. And then, yeah, like they're just gone. And like I said, Yuri, if it wasn't for Yuri becoming Wraith in the sequel, she wouldn't be in the game at all, probably, because she's a cop. And people wanted Captain Stacy to appear in the sequel to take over Yuri's job. Gwen Stacy's dad, right? He's not in it because there are no cops.
Dude, that's just, it's, I mean, it's just, the way I would describe it is it's frustratingly just stupid. The logic behind that.
It's like if the next Batman game had no Jim Gordon, had no GCPD, had nothing.
Yeah, it's like, are you nuts? Like, that's so core to the identity of Gotham City.
Like, I don't even think that people complained about Arkham Knight, because Arkham Knight, you go to GCPD all the time. You're throwing criminals in there. You're doing all that stuff. I don't think anyone complained about that besides just general Batman bad takes about how he's rich and beats up the poor, and that's all he does, right? But
yeah, I don't know, man. Like, here's the thing. I believe in free speech. You can say whatever you want, but that doesn't mean that we always have to listen to what everybody says. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And granted, the game still sold and no one knew about it until it was already kind of over. But people like to point out, like the grifters like to point out that there is the deaf black woman, and they want to point out the Mary Jane forced things and the Sweet Baby Inc. doing that. Like you can point to all that and they have their merit, but the actual just full on erasure of cops was the worst decision that you can tell was 100% influenced by either like money people being like, these guys ain't gonna buy it if you do this, or like California, like blue hairs being all like, we don't like the cops, so you can't have the cops be good guys and you need to get rid of all that. And it's just completely missing the point and a like childlike understanding of reality, right?
Well, I mean, some people never did mature beyond childhood, dude.
You know, and yeah, so yeah, that's just the problems with Spider-Man 2. Like I said, the game's done now. They're never gonna fix it. They're never gonna change it. It's complete package is what it is. They cut out so many skins and gave you absolutely ugly ones. That's the other the thing with Spider-Man 2 is the skins are just awful. But moving on. Speaking of Marvel problems getting canceled, Blade has been delayed indefinitely. The film no longer has a release date.
I saw this coming.
Yeah. It was something that they should have kind of done. Like it's so easy to make a Blade movie that it's impossible to mess it up. But the rumors about they were trying to do an all-female Blade movie, they wanted it to have like a very feminine focus. There was those rumors came out. Just in general kept throwing scripts around. It's like, how hard is it? He's a guy who kills vampires. It's not rocket science. You just do the movie. You just do it. Like you make up a vampire and you kill him, and that's the movie. But we had like 3 movies, really 4 of them, but like 3 movies, and 2 of them are good. And Blade Trinity has its moments, but otherwise, like, it's stupid. But like, you know, it was there. Like the first movie already is the roadmap, because it's about you learn the world. He meets a human that he has to tell the world to. That's how you tell the audience all this about the vampires and all this, and that he has to fight some vampires trying to do a big vampire plot, and he kills the vampire. The second movie was when they kind of switched it up and had it where he has to team up with the vampires to stop this other vampire thing, right? That's sequel stuff. That works. But like, come on, this was a layup if there ever was one.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, like, first of all, we live in an era where these studios think you have to be different for the sake of being different. You know, you just can't stick to the basic plot.
Yeah.
What people expect. Number 2, Blade is kind of, you know, I guess he represents a type of masculinity that they don't really like. And a lot of these writers that they hire, let's just be honest, would they really know how to write a character like Blade?
I mean, I've been reading a lot about this on Twitter about what people said, and some like there were some like black people with some points about like how like Blade is like black masculinity, and that they don't do that in Hollywood anymore.
Right.
And that
they don't know how.
Black characters are like super duper nice guys or nerd guys or like villain gangsters, right? But like it's always like there is no smooth, like calm, cool guy like Blade, right? Everyone loves Blade. Like people watch Blade for the first time, he's great. And especially like, you know, like black guys love Blade because he's cool. And yeah, like it's weird that they can't make this work, right? And then even if they're like talking about like, oh, we wanted to have it be like this feminine focused thing, and it's like, and what are you even doing this for?
Because they don't really like Blade, and so they have to destroy it because they don't like it.
Yeah, Blade's time was the 90s. I don't think it would have sold today, honestly. I mean, like you could say that to a lot of the comics just because the sales aren't great.
Well, is he talking is he talking about the comics, or is he talking about
I think he's talking the comics because well, maybe not, maybe the movies, because the movie was in the 90s. So either way, you know, it's just that people want like a John Wick style movie with a guy who hunts vampires, right? All you had to do, he's getting hunted down by like the vampire elite, and he's going to find them all. He's going to kill them all or something. Like I said, it's a layup.
No, I agree with you. It's just, to me, like, it doesn't surprise me because I know how Hollywood is. I know the way that they think about these type of movies, and they're just, the people that are writing this stuff, they're just not capable of it. Like they're to us, it's simple. Like to us, it's obvious what you're supposed to do. But they, like, the people that are like in charge of this stuff, they can't bring themselves to do it because they don't get it. They literally don't get it. They didn't grow up with it. They reject it in all of its forms, and they literally just don't know how to put something like this out.
He says it was because of the time of the black leather trench coat. You couldn't do that to a post 90s audience. Well, I don't think Blade had the trench coat until the movie. The movie, from my understanding, changed Blade around a little bit, where like the concept of the Daywalker wasn't a thing until the movie, Jesker. He was just a guy that hunted vampires. He wasn't a vampire, I don't think, until the movie made him one. And then that concept was so cool and people came to expect it because that movie did so well. They had Morbius turn him into a Daywalker in the comics.
Yeah, an example of the movie influencing the comics.
Yeah, which people like to talk about sticking to the source material, and I have too in many ways. But you have those cases like that where it will randomly happen, and then it's like, you know, like, hey, like, what are you gonna do? But yeah, so I don't. It's really just the problem with the MCU as a whole is they're still kind of finding their footing in a post Endgame world, and they're still now moving their stuff around from their Disney Plus oversaturation, which that came about because of the pandemic. I was watching a video on that where it's basically like streaming services started like they didn't think movie theaters were ever going to come back, basically. So then they were like, let's just greenlight all these streaming services shows because TV streaming service shows are the future. So we're going to go crazy with that. And
I was telling people back then, I was like, if y'all think movie theaters aren't coming back, you're dumb. Like, it's people aren't leaving the movie theaters because they want to. They're leaving the movie theaters because of this pandemic, and they have to protect their health. Once this thing is over with, they're gonna come back. I mean, it's like Hollywood thought that like everybody just wanted to sit on their couch and just never leave their home again, never have social interactions. It's like, do these studios know how actual human beings work? We're social creatures. We're going to get out again eventually.
Like, to be fair, I am like that, but
man, that's why you haven't gotten laid yet.
Oh, wow.
Listen, you gotta, this is the basic first date. It's dinner and a movie. All right. Take her out.
Don't go to, well, I mean, if you do dinner too, but don't do a movie on the first date.
No, that's a basic one. Dinner and a movie.
Yeah, but I'm saying like you do dinner. Yeah, but I'm saying movie only. That's bad first date.
No.
Yeah, because you can't talk.
No, you go see like a romantic movie, or you go see a horror movie, and like she gets scared and she jumps over and she grabs you. It's like, hey, girl.
I'm sorry. Are you talking about going to a movie in the 80s? Is that what you're talking about?
It is a timeless classic.
Oh, yeah. I can tell you from personal experience it does not work. But Swan, we couldn't go one stream without mentioning virginity. And Swan, a woman, tells you to listen to me. You'll get somewhere in life one day, kid, if you listen to me. As Red Skull in Endgame says, I guide others to a treasure I cannot possess. And I would also like to say,
you're right. I haven't lost my virginity. Huh? Because I never lose. Whoa! Oh, see you later, sex haver.
So,
what the? I feel like I should be offended.
So, it doesn't sex haver just hurt to hear? Like, something about it.
Look, the Lord said, "Go forth and multiply." Don't you make me feel guilty about this?
I mean, have you multiplied though? Or did you just?
I have not.
Yeah. So. Swan, I will not read that. But is Jessica really a sex haver though?
Y'all missed story time. I went over my first time in a stream a few months back.
We will not be getting into that, she says, but we know Jessica isn't having kids. We're gonna I guess really wrap up because we don't really have anything else to talk about besides we don't have to. I mean, I could rant about the MCU, but I also kind of want to. I feel like I could still go to 3 hours. So, let me. I wonder if there's something I've been wanting to try that I can do on here. Maybe I have to make it on my own.
Well, real quick on the Blade thing, do you think this movie's ever going to happen?
No, I don't think, especially now. I'm gonna. I'm doing a Q&A. I've never done this on YouTube, so I don't know how it works. So, yeah. So I'm trying this out. See how this works. Yeah, so I guess apparently in the chat you should be able to see Q&As, I guess. I have no idea. But I don't know, test that out if you're watching. You can ask me questions. Or ask us questions. No, so Blade, I don't think is going to come out now. Blade has had no impact in the MCU besides a barely reference in Eternals, which has been scrubbed from the internet or scrubbed from the world's zeitgeist entirely. So,
there was an Eternals movie. I wasn't aware.
Yeah, it made 0 headlines and waves and affected anything. But
I feel like they have to do the Blade movie at some point. To me, it's one of those things where it's been through such development hell that by the time that it does come out, I don't know. Like, are people actually going to go see it? Like, it may just be so tarnished from the development hell that people just expect it to be bad and they're not going to go see it. And I just have a hard time imagining it being good. You know what I mean?
yeah. Like, I'm trying. Yeah, like I see it pinned in the chat here. I can't participate because it's mine. I just have like a Q&A that says test, and I think you like click on it and you can ask a question. I don't know. I saw this as like an option in chats and was just like, I just want to kind of mess with that and see what happens.
I've never actually tried it on my streams.
Yeah. Because that's something that could just be thrown. I could do that for like any stream, and it seems to like they group them together. Like I can sort by just questions, and then oh, I see. So Swan asks, can the chat see this? And I don't see it on the StreamYard. I would have to do something to pull it up, because this is, like I said, might as well do the test now because that's something that can always be done.
I'm looking at the stream on YouTube and I don't see it either.
Okay, so I think how it works is because you see where I have the test Q&A thing. So I think you click on that maybe.
See, to me it still just says test and it gives me the option.
Okay, so try where it says top chat, right? And you can filter. Do you have questions as a option? You can filter top chat, live chat. Or only I can see that.
I don't have that option. I think that's just I think the host has that.
Okay, so I can do a
it may be something chat. Only you can see.
Yeah, it might be. Or you can zoom in. Anyway, so I just thought I'd mess with that, but yeah, okay. So let me okay, so Swan asked, can the chat see this? No, it seems to go where only I can see it. It worked, but it's not showing in chat. Can I ask anything I want? Swan asks. Like, yeah, whatever. Don't have to answer, I suppose. What is the way forward in your mind moving forward? I have no idea. Are you asking me like about the channel, or like was this just like a?
Is it maybe about Blade or the MCU?
So Swan said Healy's and I both sent questions. So Swan, how can you see the questions? Where do you go to see them?
I think Swan's just saying that because guy who likes Healy said that he asked a question in the chat.
Oh, I see. I see. Okay. Like MCU wise. Okay, so I think that they are going to I think that they're still going to move forward, but I feel like they need to reboot the MCU. I think that they will that this continuous timeline is kind of gonna not work out, and that they'll need to reboot soon enough, and that the bringing back of Robert Downey Jr. to play Doctor Doom is just a kind of a cash grab, kind of not really a cash grab, but like a desperation attempt. And yeah, I don't know. There's
I did a video on this where I said that the only hope for the MCU is Spider-Man. Because like everything else has kind of been tarnished. But after No Way Home, Spider-Man still has like a lot of goodwill going towards it. So I think Spider-Man needs to really be the thing that carries the MCU going forward. If I was the one that was in control of Marvel, I would have probably spent Phase 4 tying up the loose ends from the Infinity Saga, and then I would have started the multiverse stuff, and I would have had like a new Avengers type of thing going on, to where Tom Holland Spider-Man basically would have like been the new Tony Stark, would have been like the leader of the Avengers. And you would have had like a new Avengers, and then like with the multiverse stuff, you could bring in the X-Men from another universe. You could have Avengers versus X-Men. Like the big films would have been, and then of course you also wrap in Fantastic Four and all that as well to set up Doom as your big bad. So I would have had like the first Avengers film after Endgame. I would have had it be called New Avengers, and it would have been about Tom Holland creating like a new Avengers team. Then I would have had Avengers versus X-Men. And then you start getting into like Doomsday and Secret Wars and all that stuff. Like essentially it leads up to Battle World eventually. And so you have like the new Avengers, you have the X-Men, you have the Fantastic Four, these three major teams fighting Doom.
Yeah, I mean, I they had their problems with the Fox rights and all that, and they're kind of getting their footing with all that. And some of that X-Men stuff, that X-Men fever can still hit you, and then you're like, cool, get some X-Men in there. But yeah, I don't know. It's a guy who I see this. I just want to go back to low-level heroes and stopping event after event. Like standalone movies that aren't all part of giant stories over and over.
I will say though, like after, like given what I just said, like that would have been the multiverse stuff. Then I would have like after that, like probably done like another saga of a I don't really know what you would call it. It would be like you're getting into things like the oh god, what the hell is the living holy shit, what's the
Living Tribunal?
Thank you. Yes, the Living Tribunal. I was wanting to call him the Living Triune for some reason. The Living Tribunal. like stuff like on that level, the one above all, the one below all, like it would have been more like esoteric stuff on like the higher spiritual planes. Like I would have done a saga based on all that. And then at that point, I don't know where you go after that. I think at that point you bring it to an end and you just wait a generation before you start doing more Marvel stuff. Because I don't know where you go after that.
Yeah. Yeah, I've ranted about the MCU. Like where the MCU should go is a hard question. Just because I've ranted on what the MCU should be doing, but that it already kind of messed up, and so that it basically I always go back to the Thor rant, and that's in the to break glass in case of emergency. But no, Swan, says you could tell Jesker that losing his virginity years ago isn't the same as being a current sex haver. It's not private if you share it. Well, you never said not to, Swan.
You're assuming that the only time I've had sex is the first time.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're not going to get into, the whens and the hows and the, all that stuff, but no, and I guess like because it's hard to say what like guy who like Healy said, I like low level like I like street crime stuff, and that's why like Hawkeye is my favorite of the Disney Plus shows, because it is just people stopping a crime. So like it's just like it's Hawkeye stopping a crime, and that I just like that, and that I wish that more shows are like that. Like there's rumors about what the Spider-Man 4 is going to be like, that it's going to have Null that's going to be introduced in Venom 3. It's going to be
I've been seeing some stuff on Spider-Man 4. Is it true that Spider-Man 4 is actually called King in Black?
I don't know if there's been no confirmation that Null is going to be in Spider-Man 4 at all.
So is that logo and stuff I've been seeing, is that just fan made?
That's fan made, yeah. Because all we know is that they're doing another one, but we know nothing else about it.
Okay. Because if it was King in Black, it's like, okay, yeah, that's Null. Like, but
yeah, like rumors are that it's going to be Null is going to be introduced in Venom 3, and that it's because Sony's been wanting to do the Venom Spider-Man crossover. They have to do it, and that's basically where they're going to go.
I'm cool with that because I think Null is like one of the as far as like modern comic stuff, I think it's one of the best things that was introduced in modern comics. I really like Null.
Yeah. That guy who like Healy's is mad that they will be probably doing a multiversal big thing. Yeah, people want Daredevil and Spider-Man to fight Kingpin. Really, that's really like, you gotta at least do that. Give us that, right?
That's not multiversal though, because they're in the same universe.
Exactly. People don't want multiversal Spider-Man. They're sick of
it. I think we'll get Spider-Man and Daredevil teaming up against Kingpin at some point, for sure. Because Daredevil was Peter's lawyer in No Way Home. It's like, they're kind of foreshadowing that they are going to have a team up at some point.
Peter does best at low level, save the block for 5 minutes and leave the world to someone else. Like having like the perfect end to his big arc, right, be then gone, for like erased,
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like having like we finally put him at low level, what everyone wanted, and then we're gonna go immediately right back to massive planet multiversal thing. And yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess what they could do is for Spider-Man 4, have him team up with Daredevil to fight Kingpin, which I really want to see because I know technically Kingpin is more of a Daredevil villain, but because I grew up with Spider-Man the animated series, I always associated Kingpin more with Spider-Man personally.
Yeah. Like give it a movie or two, then do it. Yeah.
Yeah, so that might be the next one. And then Spider-Man 5, maybe do King in Black then.
Yeah. It like apparently the rumors Null's supposed to be like a big threat that's built up, that he's gonna be like a Thanos or something. Like
He could be.
What it's gonna be is he's a Thanos, but not to the MCU. He's a Thanos to the Sonyverse. So it's gonna be Madam Web, Morbius, and Kraven, Venom, and Spider-Man teaming up to fight Null.
No. Let's just listen. Morbid time never happened. All right,
and that's what it's gonna be.
And Madam Web is not some young girl. Madam Web is an old lady sitting on a chair.
Yeah, old lady, voiced by Stan Lee's wife.
Yes, that's Madam Web.
Yeah, so that'll be the that'll be that. Yeah, the Q&A is still going. If you know, I won't. It can be private questions, I guess, but yeah.
Well,
I'm
sorry. Go ahead.
No, I say I didn't read King in Black. I remember watching like a thing on it, and remember Thor destroying one of Null's symbiote dragons in the way back past, and remembering that the like Null forged symbiotes, and they were like how they were like that the symbiotes were scared of the sound of the hammer, so that's why they were afraid of noise, and they were weak to like the heat of the forge, and that's why they're weak to fire. And I thought that was so cool.
Oh yeah, I love King in Black. It's one of my favorite storylines. If the way I'm not going to give away any massive spoilers, but just like the general premise is, you remember in Web of Shadows when you have like the symbiote invasion going on in New York?
Yeah, I didn't play Web of Shadows, but yeah.
Okay, well, but you know what I'm talking about.
It happens in Spider-Man 2 also, and Spider-Man 2 pulls a lot from the King in Black stuff, like the sea or the rock and the taking over the world and the hive mind and all that stuff is.
Yeah, it's essentially like that, but it's on steroids.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like, you have a freaking symbiote dragon, dog. It's crazy.
Yeah. And then they changed the spider's logo to be a dragon, though, and that was dumb. Like, and then Venom's spider on his chest is because of Null. That's weird. Well, and then that was the Null stuff kind of ruined Spider-Man 2 in some ways, just because like one of the things Venom does in the boss fight is grow giant wings and fly up in the air.
Well, see, I don't know why they went with the Null route for Spider-Man 2, because in my opinion, I think they should have gone more of the Ultimate Universe route and like had the symbiote not be so much an alien, but more so like this
lab grown.
Yeah, like the cure for cancer, essentially.
It seemed like that they kind of just combined the two, because the symbiote was meant to be Harry's cure, and
right,
and then it was because they found it, and they're like, what happened if we threw it on Harry? And that's what we did. And
yeah, I thought they were going to go the Ultimate Spider-Man route and just have it be an artificial lab grown thing, which I think for that particular continuity, I think would have worked a lot better.
Yeah, so there's it's just the It was Donny Cates, right? King Black, like the Donny Cates Venom stuff. Yeah, just kind of messed with all that. Which I think Donny Cates was the guy that ruined Thor, or was it? There was the one guy who was like really obsessed with like Thor's mom and making her the Phoenix, and then they attempted to retcon it where Thor's mom wasn't Gaia. It was the Phoenix possessing Gaia or something. It was weird. It didn't make sense. But Odin, it did fall in love with the Phoenix at one point. I did not read the Venom. I don't read comics, sadly. I'm trying to. I just don't have the time.
I'm trying to remember what the fuck Venomverse was.
Let me look it up.
Well, since I don't remember it, no, I probably didn't read it.
2017.
Oh, it came out in 2017?
Yeah, it seems to be like a bunch of
that may explain
battle with the jack-o'-lantern. Venom suddenly disappears and appears in an alternate dimension. Local Doctor Strange, who's recruited about ongoing war between the Venoms and the Poisons. The Venoms are alternate.
Okay. I know what this is. No, I know what it is, but I didn't read it.
So Spider-Verse. See, that's the other thing we could, I guess, like hot take. Spider-Verse was oversaturated. Like, we kind of got everyone had to have a Spider-Verse of some kind, and it's just like
you're a Spider-Man, and you're a Spider-Man, and you're a Spider-Man, and you're
not even a Spider-Man. Just like everyone has to have an alternate meetup with the like their multiversal selves, and like it wasn't even the movie. The movie kind of like brought it back, but it was like the original Spider-Verse comic, because then everyone had to have like Deadpool core, and everyone had to have the big, we can get into multiverse fatigue really, but it's just like everyone had to do that.
Right. Yeah, Wizard, I'm gonna have to jump off for the night.
We'll end the stream then, because we got nothing else to talk about. Unless I want to sit here ranting about Immortal Thor for 20 more minutes, which I could, or I guess 15 more minutes, but I could do it. And like I said, Jesker, he tells a storm to go away or there will be consequences, and the storm disappears. Like,
who is this guy, Jesus?
Well, because Thor commands the weather, Jesker. Like, that's his thing. Like,
okay, Jesus commanded a storm to stop. He was like, "Stop it, you silly Billy," and it had to stop.
Like, it was like, it's so, well, that's the thing with Immortal Thor is based on the New Testament, because Immortal Hulk was based on the Old Testament. Immortal Thor is going to end with Thor's death, possibly, or something.
Is this man getting put on a cross?
It's not directed by Zack Snyder. So.
Shit.
But yeah, Zeus literally throws lightning at him, and he tells it to move, and the lightning moves out of the way.
Get out of the way, you silly Billy.
He can command it. It's so awesome. Like, there's at one point he's trying to talk to Storm, like X-Men Storm, and she hurls a bolt of lightning at him, and he apologizes to the lightning because he knows that she controls it and is making it do that. He's like, "I'm sorry, you had to, you had to betray me because she made you."
That's crazy.
They basically made like Thor's relationship with weather the same as like Aquaman's with fish, where it's like, yeah, he could like command them, he just doesn't because they respect him, so they just listen, right? And it's like it's the very like first opening pages of Immortal Thor is the frost giants are invading Asgard with this blizzard in the summer, and that's the storm he tells to go. He shows up and he's like you have made a mistake and I will not hold it against you, but leave now and there will be no problems. I know that like you work for me or whatever. And the frost giants are confused. They're like, what are you talking about? We don't work for you, Thor. He's like, I wasn't talking to you. I was talking to the blizzard. And he's like, a snowstorm is still a storm, and I control all storms. And he's like, and leave now. And then the next panel, it's literally just blips out of existence.
That's crazy.
It's like, it's so awesome.
Thor literally going around in these storms being like, cut it out, you silly Billy.
Literally just like, you will listen to me. Like, you know, like I am the ruler of all storms and you will listen to me. And like I said, like Zeus throws a bolt of lightning and he just says like, turn, and it moves out of the way. And he just keeps doing it. And Zeus keeps throwing lightning. He's like, turn, and it moves. And like, it's so cool. That's always my big like Immortal Thor rant. It's just like, no, it's so cool though. And like just that one scene, if they somehow did that in an MCU movie, would just be like, it'd make my day. Like, yeah, just do it. Just do that. It's really cool. But we only get like the one scene in Thor 2 where he makes like the rain bubble around Jane that shows his actual commanding of storms. Otherwise, he only ever summons lightning. Like he could do so much more. He could, in the Gore the God Butcher story, it starts with him making like planets with droughts like have rain come down because he can just like show up and he can just do that. He can make it, he can control the weather on alien planets too. So he's like, yeah, I'm just gonna make it rain here, right? Like, you know, we just don't see that. But
that's, I mean, that just sounds badass as fuck.
Yeah, like he's just so cool. He's just so cool. I have plans for a stream that I might want to do that is a Thursday show where I only talk about Thor. I want to do Thor's Day. Have a show called
man.
Thor's
I mean,
Day.
do I need to bring some lube to the show? Like, I mean,
it'll just. I haven't talked to it with Cynic or the other guys yet, but it'd basically be like that. Might be me like why aren't I dressing up as Thor? Thor costumes, for one, I have the body of fat Thor, but also hate fat Thor. So
you are what you hate.
Yeah. So, but anyway, so I want to do Thor's Day or whatever. But I don't know what the concept of it would be. Is if I would like make you guys like, okay, we're gonna read Thor issue whatever, right? We're all gonna talk about like book club, right? We're all gonna talk about it. Or it'd be funnier if it's just me with all this Thor knowledge. Like I read this one thing, I watch this one Thor movie, whatever. And I just come in like, okay, here's what happened, right? And here's why it's cool. And you're gonna be like, Wizard, what are you talking about? Like, no, it's cool though, because this happened and then that, and then you know, and it'll just be me like doing like the Charlie Day, you know, like conspiracy board meme, right? Just like, no, you see, it's cool. Or like the guy ranting to the girl in the baseball, you know, like meme, you know.
Well, if you're going to start doing Thor Thursdays, then I'm going to start doing Magneto Mondays. And every Monday, we're going to go over why Magneto is the best comic book villain in all of comic book dumb.
Like, I think there's even a debate or something, or retcon about Magneto being able to lift the hammer. I can't remember what they determined with that, though, because I think there is a panel where he does it, but not like with his hand, but with his powers. Because it's a metal. If you want to talk about,
does he do it with his powers, or is it because he's actually worthy?
No, he's not. He's not worthy. That's something I could break. Like Superman is not worthy to lift Thor's hammer. Surprisingly enough, the only reason in the Marvel DC crossover, the only reason Superman is able to lift the hammer is because the hammer makes an exception to allow him to do it. But the grounds for being worthiness isn't just about pure of heart. You have to be willing to kill your enemy. You have to be willing to slay your enemy.
Well, Magneto will do that easy.
Yeah, but he has to be like, you have to be uncorruptible with the power. There's rules for the worthiness, basically. But now, because Thor is the All-Father, he actually can decide who is worthy. So he could just give you the hammer if he wants to. One of the ways that they beat the first villain of the Immortal Thor's arc so far was he actually gives him the hammer. And because Thor can decide who is worthy, right? He gives him the hammer. Holding the hammer means you are worthy, meaning that you then have to abide by the rules set forth by the hammer. So that means that you have to feel empathy for humanity, meaning that the villain is forced to feel empathy when he holds the hammer. So he's like, dear God, what is this? And blah, blah, blah. And he's like, get this thing away from me, right? And he like throws the hammer away. And then that's like the distraction, right? You know, it's crazy, like the stuff that
I like that. I like that.
Yeah, like some type of like reverse rule, right? Where it's like, well, you need to be worthy to have these, but and since you're worthy, here they are, right? And then he's like, what is this? And that he does that to an ancient primordial elder god, too. He does that. And when he gives this ancient primordial elder god the hammer, he gets a Thor costume to match, because if you get the hammer, you get the power of Thor. You get the power of Thor, you get a costume. Like, nuts. It's crazy. That Mortal Thor is great. The art took a massive downhill, though, like down, just terrible.
I'm just picturing now that you said that some like immortal elder god like getting the hammer and they start feeling empathy towards humanity and they just look down at the earth, see us all running around, and they're like, oh, they're so cute.
There was, you know, I've mentioned before about how Roxxon, the oil company, works with Amora the Enchantress to change Thor's story that basically changes his past, right? And doing that changes the way he acts, because they basically introduce the idea of like story magic, like Norse stories, right? And that the idea of like using that to tell the past, the present, and the future, or whatever. But basically they use it to change the past by putting the story magic into comic books. So they print off Thor's comic books, but change the stories, which changes his memories and kind of his mind. Basically, they use that to make a fake Roxxon Thor who has short hair and he's an idiot and he does quips. So they make MCU Thor like canon, and then Thor kills him.
That's nuts, bro.
So it was like a cathartic, like if you're a Thor fan and you hated what happened in Ragnarok and Love and Thunder, he kills him.
That's crazy. But anyways, yeah, I'm gonna have to pull out now.
Yeah. Thanks for coming, Jesker.
No problem.
Yep.
Oh, next episode we are doing the candy.
We are doing the candy ranking. It is the Halloween special. It is Scaranomagia, which no one gets that joke, but the ancient word for wordplay was a paranomagia. I used to have the October theme was paranormagia, like paranormal, but I realized that Scaranomagia is probably better. It still might be paranomagia next week, who knows? But
you look at the big brains on this guy, man.
Yeah, it's wordplay. You got to think it through.
I see what you did there.
That will have special guests. Maybe Katie will show up. Maybe Richard Embry will be there. Maybe even our old friend TJ Laser will appear. Who knows?
Yo, let's go, man. We're reuniting the band.
We're most of them. We're going
to get everybody on here. Tony's gonna be sitting on a stream like, where the fuck is everybody?
Dalish is gonna be back. Cynic will be there. I'm sure Snowman might be there, but yeah. So another thing is I'm going to upgrade my StreamYard so that we can fit everyone on the panel.
Yeah, I was about to say you're gonna have to get that many people on.
So that'll be something to look forward to. Swan has been invited. It's up to her if she wants to be there.
Let's go.
Yeah, so it'll be a fun stream. Halloween special. We're going to be ranking our favorite candies. I might find time to do some type of fun other Halloween themed game of some kind. I have to maybe work on that if we don't think that the tier list on its own will be enough for a 3-hour show.
I mean, it might be, because we're probably going to get into some arguments and stuff. I am really curious to see what everybody's opinion is on candy corn.
Yeah, you'd mentioned that already. So that'll be guy who likes Healy says, I gotta read Immortal Thor. I've been looking for more standalone Thor stories. Yeah, Immortal Thor is really, really good. And Preston says shots. No, we will not be doing that. No, so Immortal Thor is really good, and I would say if you at least issue 1, if you're not like this is awesome by issue 1, then it's like okay, you don't have to read it. But issue 1, I said it. Issue 1 is better than ISOM issue 1 for the same price and same page count. Right? Everyone always tried to put like, oh, ISOM, you couldn't name something cheaper. Then that's not fair. You couldn't name something with less pages. That's not fair. Same price, same page count.
Yeah, Summer Swan. I'll just come into the stream drunk. I'll just show and be like, "Hey guys, what's up?" I'd be like a wine mom. Be like, "I know y'all are trying. Y'all are trying so hard," and it's like hiccup.
Yeah, I like actually hiccup like you're a drunk character from like a 40s cartoon.
Yeah,
like a bubble pops
Wizard.
out.
I am a drunk character from a 40s cartoon.
Like you're Dumbo. Yeah, Wizard doesn't drink. I doesn't. But yeah, Immortal Thor is really good. Highly recommend it.
You might not want me to come on drunk though, because I'm an honest drunk. I'll just say whatever's on my mind.
I mean, if it's about candy, it'd be just funny. It would just be like, you'd be like, no, actually, candy corn's okay.
I get on here and be like, I want to tell you all right now. All right, let me, man. Twizzlers are dog shit.
Twizzlers can be. It depends. We'll get into it, I'm sure, next week. Milk shots for the Wiz. Nah, it'd probably be water, but no one wants to take water shots during a stream. But with that, once again, thank you for coming, Jesker.
No problem.
Thank you for being here, Preston, Swan, and Guy who likes Heelys, who really stuck around for the whole show. So, we will be back next week with the special Ascara No Magia Halloween special. And I look forward to doing that. And with that, I will play the outro.